Hey, what's up? And welcome to my dad's podcast. Look, I just wanted to throw out a disclaimer on this one because this shit is long. So I was going to go through and edit it, bring it down to like an hour, maybe under an hour. We rant, and some of this we go down rabbit holes, and some of this it's just really to me it's one of the best podcasts I've done, just because it's with my brothers, and thoroughly enjoy having conversation with them. You guys feel free to manipulate the time span as you wish. You can listen to the whole thing. I don't even care. Listen to some of it. But the thing is, or the fact of the reality is, I'm going to go back 20, 25 years from now, and I'm going to listen to these, and I'm going to be glad I have them, the full versions, unedited. But I did want to throw out that disclaimer. This was on location in Westminster, Colorado, in the basement of my brother's house. It was his finished basement. But we had a great time, man. I love being out there with my brothers. I love being around my brothers. I love conversating with them, and they're just to me the most interesting and unique people in my life. And I hope you guys enjoy.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of my dad's podcast. I have a treat for you guys tonight. I'm actually podcasting on location, and are we in Westminster, Mike? Westminster, Colorado. Look, we've had an amazing day today. We went out to South Table Rock Mountains. They're at the base of Boulder, and we did those.
Golden.
Golden. I'm sorry, I'm saying Boulder. Golden. Did a nice hike out there today with the family. We've been just doing a bunch of stuff. I know a lot of people like to go to the beaches on spring break, and hey, that's what spring break is for, right? I think we used to go to the beaches on spring break when we lived in Texas. But there was no way. We didn't have snow in Arkansas this year, so my thought was, let's go where the snow is. If the snow can't find us, let's go to the snow. So I had planned to take my family to Roswell, and in the mist, I realized that Roswell was not too much further than my brothers in Denver. So we just loaded up and came to Denver. Speaking of which, I got both of my brothers here tonight. We're missing one of my brothers, Tom. He's in sunny San Diego doing life. Probably about to go on spring break himself. But I got Mike and Scott, my brothers here. Mike, my oldest. Scott, my youngest. What's up, fellas?
Hello.
Yeah, go. Mike, what's been going on, brother? How you been, and how's life been treating you?
Life's been good. Actually, this since the purchase of my house in August of 2018, that was just like a real energy drain from me. It kind of really set me in, prior to us doing the whole move and purchase of the house and things, I had gotten into yoga for a year and a half and really got connected, and it just felt like the next step was to move, and that whole process was just really energy taking. The only thing I could say. Anyways, it just required a lot of energy during that time. And now we're just getting back into routine, and things are just really coming together in 2019. Everything is just really good. Things are just things that I was really counting on and thinking were going to be negative have actually been a positive. So it's just 2019's been really good for me so far.
And so what's your family life like? I mean, I know what your family like is. Explain to my listeners what your family like is. I mean, how many kids you got? What are their ages?
So I have my domestic partner, which is Sarah Richards. We've been together close to 3 years now. She has a daughter that's 12. Her name is Ava. I think she's 13 now. Oh no. Anyways, and then we have Zelia, which is 16. She's in high school in all these AP classes, honor classes. I'm really proud of her for that. Zane, he's at the Compass Montessori. He's the twin, 16 years old, and then doing great at his school. They're looking at graduating next year. Then I have Maisie, who is 11. She just turned 11. She's out the MMUN, which is a Model UN United Nations thing in New York. She's out there doing that. She had a whole speech. She represents Kenya, South Africa. That's a really it's a really good, an amazing opportunity for her. And then I have Burr. She's 21. She just turned 21 this November. I went out to see her. Um, and she's doing really well. She's working as a secretary out there doing all kinds of errand work for businesses. Um, Enjoying that. Living in Huntington Beach, California, close to the beach. Her and her boyfriend doing well. Things are good.
Nah, man, it sounds like it. Scott, what? Hold on, Scott. Just tell him. What are you trying to tell him? Speak into the mic. Just tell him.
You keep hitting that cable. It's just.
You nervous, Mike? Something making you nervous?
No. I just move around a lot.
I just want you to check your cable.
Listen. Yeah, Scott, you don't have to do sign language, man. You just speak up when you want to speak, all right, bro? Scott, speaking of you, what's going on in your life?
Hey, man, what's going on with all that alien stuff, man? Would you guys want to see some freaking aliens down in Roswell? Or
yeah,
what?
we did. Actually, we did want to see some aliens.
Like,
that's why we're going to Roswell.
I know. Like, I was hoping you would get some pictures and send them our way so, you know.
You guys can see what Roswell is all about?
So we can see what Roswell is all about. That's right.
Yeah, so I think we should have a family reunion in Roswell.
I think we should.
Deborah's over there like making faces like, why would we go to Roswell?
I would go with you. I would go with you to Roswell. I think that would be fun.
You know, so what else? So what you got? How many kids you got, and what's your status right now? By the way, girls, he's single.
Yeah, to your like very few listeners, I think we're all males, so probably won't go too far. But I don't know. My life's doing good, man. I'm busy. I'm busy all the time. Busy being a dad. Busy being a service member. Busy being, a public servant to a certain degree. Public transit.
Yeah. So I mean, you just had something interesting recently happen. So my brother Scott was Army Reserve forever. Transportation. Went to Afghanistan twice.
No, Iraq.
I'm sorry, Iraq. He was married. He had a child. He has been with RTD for years. How many years been with RTD, which is a regional transit department?
Working on my 20th year.
Okay.
Starting to work on my 20th year.
And that's here in Denver. So he's he's got some retirement goals through them. But how old is your daughter, Bridget?
Bridget's 7.
7 years old, born in October. She was a Halloween baby, wasn't she?
Yeah,
was she born
October 31st,
October
2011.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And she is unique and interesting. Yeah, Bridget, come on up here and say hi to everybody. You don't need the headphones, just say hi.
Hi. I'm 7 years old and my birthday is on Halloween and I love to go trick-or-treating and have a fun birthday celebration. I'm happy my family's out here.
That's Bridget. She is so sweet. And I got my kids here too, and we're probably going to shoo them out of the room here in a little bit just so we can get more into just what my dad's podcast is all about, which is just being parents, our concerns, how life is. We have a few adult beverages going on right now with us, so we're just trying to feel the vibe, just enjoying each other's family time. Scott, so you switched to the Navy Reserve. What was that like, being in the Army Reserve all these years and then going to the Navy? Was that something that you...
Yeah, I found it to be interesting. I've always wanted to, get to it. You don't ever want to get stagnant in any job, You want to make sure that if it gets to that point, start making some changes, or you're really just not going to want to proceed and keep that consistency without having a little bit of changes. I mean, even for me driving buses, I've been doing it for a long time, but what I like about it is that my view changes. The pay is getting better. It's already, up to a good standard. So when it comes to the military, it applies the same thing. After 12 years of being in the Army, bouncing around different units, retaining like 3 different types of jobs for the Army, I finally come to the conclusion that I just wasn't finding any more satisfaction with it. And so I went ahead and let my reserve time go ahead and come to an end, take my honorable discharge, and then I walked over to the Navy and said, I want a job.
Converted that from
I
Army
converted
to Navy.
that, yep.
Absolutely.
And that's because I've always liked the Navy. I really have. I like all the branches. I love them all. They all offer something unique about them. But I've always liked the Navy. In fact, I was very proud of our brother Michael for when he went through boot
Absolutely.
camp
I was
and
just about
became
to
a
say,
squid himself.
Mike,
and-
you were in the Navy. What'd you do?
I was a dental technician.
Dental technician. I got a son in the Navy. He's a, what do we call him, Deborah? An A&E? Is that what he is? Anyways,
aviation boatswain's mate.
Boatswain's mate. That's the funniest way to say it. Boatswain's mate. So we do got some Navy history. Who else? Paul Bauer was naval.
Yep.
So amongst all the military we have Army, Marine Corps. We got everything covered except Coast Guard,
Yeah.
which, neither here nor there. Maybe one of the kids one day. But so Mike was in the Navy. Scott's in the Navy Reserve now. These guys live right here in the heart of Colorado, all in this Denver metro area. Scott's in Arvada. Mike's in Westminster. Mike, this is a beautiful house you got, man. I tell you, when I saw you posted on Facebook, I was really happy for you. I know you guys had
Appreciate
been,
that, brother. It's been a long time coming.
Oh, absolutely,
I've
man.
been, would you marry and divorce and go through that whole building things together and losing everything a few times? That shit it's hard. It's hard to walk away, and then it's hard to find new and trying to readjust and do that all over again.
Man, I couldn't even imagine, man. I couldn't even imagine having to go through those processes and then rebuilding all those blocks again, But you've managed to definitely adapt and overcome through those situations. But that's one thing too about us Freestones is that we've always been able to adapt and overcome almost all the obstacles in our life, man, which is kind of why we're at where we're at in life right now. And I think growing up, we had some of the craziest stories we could tell about growing up, being military brats. I'm trying to think, one of them that even just hits me right now is when we were growing up in Killeen. Scott, in Killeen. Scott, you were too young for this, but the way we used to ride bikes, man, I want my kids to get out there and kind of ride bikes like that today. You know what I mean? Jumping ramps off stacked up milk carton crates. Remember that? Just flying down hills, pulling wheelies on our bikes, getting chased by all the neighborhood dogs too, of course. But there's just so much going on in our lives with all our kids. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be out here with you guys and our kids sharing this time. And I'm glad, Scott, that Bridget knows my kids, and I'm glad my kids love Bridget and Bridget loves them. And same thing with Mike, your kids, Zane and Zelia, Maisie and Amber and Ava. Am I leaving anybody out of that crew? Zane, Zelia, Maisie, Amber, Ava. Oh, that's it. 5 for you, bro. And you guys are about to be empty nesters in what, about 5 years?
Pretty dang close.
Pretty dang close.
Oh, yeah.
Your youngest is 15? 14.
My youngest is 11.
11.
Maisie.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm sorry. Maisie is, yeah.
But we're thinking by the time she's 16, she's got something going with her mom. So I don't know. I have no idea with her. As far as empty nesters, the twins they're 16 now. They'll be 17 here in May. Next year they'll be 18, and they're either paying me rent here or move the fuck out. So, one of the two.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking earlier when you had talked about the kids going out and doing the jumps and things on bikes. I was thinking about that one day, and we tend to think that our kids don't go do those things, but we were allotted more freedom, and when we were younger, we didn't have those over cautious helicopter parents. I guess that's the terminology they use now.
Hovered around.
Yeah, where they constantly, and they're so scared that somebody's going to steal their kids, so they don't let them go out and play, and so they're not out meeting new friends. And then when they do the parents feel comfortable enough to let their kids go do that, the kids have already adjusted and don't know how to socialize.
Yeah.
So I was just theorizing that one day. I was like, it's crazy. Fear besets all of us.
Yeah, at some extent, absolutely it does. And I try not to let fear come into our lives when it comes to hovering around our kids. We want them to get out and be active outside. But then my biggest fear is them being outside down the street and then not coming home, being trafficked, which is huge in our society right now. Everywhere. It's like even in Conway where we live.
But it's always been that way, though.
Well, I guess
it just hasn't. It just hasn't been. It hasn't been so aired. we hear all this. What's crazy, is like when you hear that movie star, he's all involved with the whole thing, and he's doing the butterfly effect kid.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And then he's got like all these inside things, and then you're thinking, holy shit, we got an FBI and people that should be way involved other than this stupid shit with, like marijuana laws and things like that. It's like there's a huge thing. Last year, I was, they had busted 400 child trafficking people at our Western stock show here. I was talking to a sheriff, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's crazy!" They were linked together somehow, but they used the Western Stock Show,
Yeah.
to do those transfers.
Crazy. Man, that's insane.
And they have hotspots for that. They know of it, and it still happens. People still get away with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I definitely think that's something that's not as looked at in our society as much as it should be, and it's crazy. And I think it's actually great that we have people like Ashton Kutcher and other rich celebrities who spend their energy on trying to combat that, because it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic in our society, along with opioids, along with now even texting and driving, which is a huge epidemic, which that's crazy in itself, man.
Oh, man.
Go ahead.
That's the crazy with the texting and driving. I was like, I work out on the road digging holes to repair gas lines, and there's always some idiot that doesn't pay attention and is on their phone, and you would just not believe, standing there. We're inside of a cone zone, and you're looking in the cars, and everybody's looking down at their phone. It's like, holy shit, you're not even aware that I'm here.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
We have people drive through the cone zones and into holes. Luckily for our company, we haven't had that happen, but flaggers getting killed. Like that's way unnecessary. It's just
I'm sure the numbers are
distracted drivers.
astronomical across the country, across the world now. I mean, across the world. Scott, you being a driver, what's your thought on that? I mean, I'm sure you come across this daily yourself.
Yeah.
And what's y'all's policy, first of all, for RTD if you're ever a bus driver and you're on your phone?
So phones cannot be in your possession. They have to be put away somewhere away from you, as far as they can't have them on your person. And you're not supposed to be using them. If you get caught using them, I think if your record is good, you will probably see some points in suspension. Generally, it's automatic firing, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Zero tolerance.
Yeah, it's almost a zero. I would say almost a zero tolerance. I'm pretty sure if there's a guy who had a really good record there some years in time, I'm pretty sure there's some fashion of leniency in certain areas, perspectives. Like, let's say we're not even supposed to be parked and have a phone in your hand. Nothing. It has to be off of your person. It can't be on you. When the bus is parked, you need to be outside. So there's a lot of stipulations. I'm going to tell you why. It's because Michael is right. Texting and driving is killing people. And that's all there is to it. I mean, that's just, Colorado has changed their accident investigations to wrecks. They're just called wrecks now.
Yeah.
They don't even call them accidents anymore. They're just wrecks because people are just wrecking into each other. You know what I mean? Like, I was on the road the other day. This is about a year ago, and I'm sitting here, I'm keeping my distance, applying all the techniques of safety and driving. And the guy in front of me, you could tell he's on his phone. You can always tell a texter because they swerve a little bit to the left and right, because they're too busy texting. And this moron smashes into the pylon right next to us, the border pylon, when they were doing the construction. I'm watching his car do a 360. I look in his window and I can see the guy just flipping out inside. And he, of course, I'm observing this to make sure he's okay. And of course, he's off to the side now and off in the dirt. And I just look at him and shook my head and just kept on driving. And I said to myself, he will probably be one that either he's going to take this and run with it and never do that again, or he'll be just back
Wreck
doing
number two.
Wreck number two. Wreck number two.
So with that being said, this is a crazy other side of that, is that my daughter, 16, is driving, and she drives aggressively, and I would have something to say about that, but because she drives aggressively means that she's paying attention to what's going on, which means that she is also driving defensively.
Absolutely.
With the way she's handling, she's aware of her mirrors at all times. She's aware of her surroundings. what's going on. So some idiot that's not paying attention, she's going to be aware of that person.
She has
Which you know, well, you know what I mean. But that's how I drive. I drive defensively. I'm always aware of what's all going around me. I have had the texting and driving, and I've gone through my phases of that where I feel the whole guilt and stupidity and all the things, and how can I be a part of that? But I've gotten pretty good about that here, and just don't look at my phone while I'm driving.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon for people to we're all gonna have blind spots in our car. We're all gonna have those days where we're like, oh man, that was just a little too close. I can't believe I didn't see that person as I was making lane change.
Scott, didn't you just have one of those moments?
I may have when I was when. What are you talking about?
Just the other
Oh yeah, Anyways, that's for another night.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, that's another podcast. You know, Mike and his freaking treasure trove of cars that he keeps around here. So. Anyways, because you're throwing me off track. So, anyways, my point is so that's the difference because generally people that are more observant, even though they may have an accident here and there, they will be less likely to be involved in a serious injury or an accident because they were already focused, as opposed to what's going on with the texting and driving, where they have already determined that even 1 or 2 seconds of not looking off down the road and scanning and driving could be detrimental, especially at 65 miles an hour. That's like a speeding train hitting a parked car. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing is, like, there's a lot of head-on collisions. Like, if you're the person in the car that person that's distracted is coming towards you, like, you know, aren't you aware of that? Like, I always think about that. Or does it happen so fast that you just don't have a chance?
So we recently had one of those in Conway. I say recently. It was a few years ago. But this lady, they were on a flat road. She was texting. She thought, you know, she drives this road all the time. She thought she could text on this portion of the road because it's flat. You don't need to do nothing. She veers off into the oncoming traffic and T-bone head-on collision kills that driver automatically because she hit his side of his truck. Takes the whole side of his driver's side, takes the impact, kills him. She survives, but she's critical condition, and now she has to live with that the rest of her life. And it was confirmed that she was texting and driving at the time of the accident. And my thing is if you're texting and driving, and you create something, just own it. You know what I mean? Because there's no sense in lying. Especially these phones can track up to the second what you were doing. You know what I mean?
You know, I think it's just the automatic denial. You like almost want to deny it yourself.
Like drinking drunk drivers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hence is the reason why I kind of look forward to autonomous vehicles coming in the future. I'm going to be honest. I see this stuff all the time so much. You know, at one time I was very against having our cars become so robotic that you would essentially not control them at all. But when I see the way people drive, specifically in the city, so look at it like this. The change that's going to happen, RTD already having its first autonomous bus put out there in the system.
Nice.
It's a small one. It's a small route, but they're already doing tests. Elon is coming up with the Hyperloop and all these awesome things that are just moving out and expanding within so the cities are always going to be affected first. Everybody should know this. That's why they're running light rail systems all the way up north, east, west, and all those fun things. So the reason why they're doing that is because we are trying to limit the amount of people that are on the highway for congestion and traffic issues and whatnot. So when that day comes that there are more autonomous self-driving vehicles out there, people will be free to text and do what they want and relax and allow these vehicles to drive them. And that's probably what's going to happen because too many people are just killing themselves nowadays.
Yeah, and do you think the phone companies own up to this responsibility? I mean, I know they've put on some certain some mandates on their phones where you can select an option to.
I don't know if I'd want to blame them. To be honest with you,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
it's a human error. The people get in their vehicles and decide to do it.
But do you think phone companies are doing enough? And I really don't want to roast this whole podcast on the whole driving thing. We'll get off this topic. Yeah. But I'm just saying, as you, as a professional driver in your daily life, you working on the streets around these drivers, do you think that the phone companies do enough to prevent people from being on their
The car
phones.
companies need to, because my Ford, it will not allow me certain things to do now. Like if I was wanting to play something or do something, it would say you cannot use this function at this time. It's not safe. I'm not kidding. I tested it out. So here's what's going to happen. One, I believe in a city. Now let's base this off a city, because I can tell you right now, living in a rural town, autonomous driving vehicles going up, like let's say the Ozarks, not going to happen anytime soon. There's just a lot of tracking it would have to do. So it would have to be very advanced in order to drive in some of those areas. It's going to start in the cities first. First thing first, people are going to have to start making these changes that are going to happen. I mean, it's just going to happen. You talk to anybody that works in the field of science when it comes to self-driving vehicles, they will all tell you within the next 10 to 15 years, this is going to be a mainstream thing, not just like a thought.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we are pushing towards that. Now, here's the thing about phone companies. I can't blame the phone companies because they're selling phones. We use them all the time. I mean, there's just no way I can put them and say, well, it's your guys' fault why these people are morons texting and driving and hurting themselves. Car companies try to do what they can in order to eliminate the problems that they have and the issues with people texting. So in general, what it comes down to, it's like when I was a pilot. When I was learning to fly aircraft, majority of the deaths that occur in aircraft piloting are usually human error. Usually 85% of them are human error. So that just goes to show, usually it's our fault. You see
Hey,
what
look,
I'm saying?
and I'll be the first to tell you, I think everything's human error. Just like now, speaking of which, phone companies being liable. The only reason I asked that is because I just read recently that they're going to allow people to sue the manufacturers of AR-15 because of the Sandy Hook incident.
Yeah, but that AR-15 was never even used. They've already proven it was in the trunk. So that doesn't make sense to me, and I hope they investigate that.
Yeah, irregardless, that's the type of society we're breeding these days that allow people to just sue these companies. And if that's, and if you look at the grand scheme of that, you want to talk about a socialist style economy, you start letting people sue all these manufacturers. They won't even want to be in business. They won't be able to afford to be in business. I'm surprised the tobacco industry made it through theirs, which, I mean, I'm not surprised because they're a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Yeah, they probably own.
Yeah, but we're opening up the floodgates for these people. Imagine suing sugar because your kid's diabetic at the age of 10. Whose fault is that, mom or sugar? You know what I mean? I think there needs to be a lot of responsibility that people need to take and stop blaming things. And I'm not going to harp on this too much because I want us to have a really good brotherly podcast, but people need to just take ownership. And that's something that I don't think this generation that's coming up or even part of our generation is capable of doing, is just taking ownership of the fact that this product cannot create this incident. It takes somebody to physically neglect the purpose of this product. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe Mike, you might have a difference of opinion on that. I know you kind of tend to think outside the box on a lot of things.
Well, as far as suing goes, I've always felt that that's a karma type thing, unless it was intentional. Like you go to the doctor and it was just gross negligence.
Sure.
You know, and that's why he's got malpractice insurance.
Sure.
You know, but there's on the day-to-day thing, especially like and I heard the story said differently. I mean, there was more than just the mainstream media to the woman that dropped her coffee in her lap and sued McDonald's. There's a lot more to that, but you know, people do tend to think that is the typical idea to most people is to want to sue when something happens, and then that gets put into other people's heads, and that just becomes an okay thing, which is sad. It's sad that it's okay to just go and sue, you know, and a lot of people use that as their platform to want to get a jump start in life. Use the takings of their misfortune, you know, which is just it's sad, you know. It's almost like it's they're wanting to win the lottery by getting hurt or having something happen to them.
And everybody in our age bracket remembers the McDonald's burn incident. We all remember that. We all remember that lady sued and became a millionaire practically overnight. And that McDonald's, instead of even resisting, they just handed it over because, again, they're, you know, 5-star Fortune company, a multi-trillion-dollar industry selling burgers, but. It happened that easy for her. she
No,
sued.
well, like I said, there's more to this story,
Yeah.
I had read a follow up on it, and actually the woman wasn't even trying to do it, but there was a lawyer that was wanting to really,
Okay, so-
and it was about their coffee it was way too damn hot,
Yeah.
like they weren't doing anything about that. And so somebody picked it up and wanted to roll with it and really press the issue, and it wasn't her, so she wasn't out trying to be money hungry. It was just the way the media played. That's what I was saying earlier, is that tends to be the go-to, but it wasn't really like that.
Who told you to put the bomb on it? I didn't say put the bomb on. Did you put the bomb on it? You know what I'm talking about, Seinfeld?
Oh man, we still watch those on reruns. Man.
Of course.
Can't stand
But that had a
ya.
lot of truth, though, you know?
Yeah.
He would always get that lawyer to,
Yeah.
chime
Kramer,
in. And
Kramer
like,
would
yeah,
get with that lawyer. Yeah.
yep. And, and in the end, I think he, instead of taking the money, he took a lifetime of lattes or whatever, and he was completely fine with that. And, I'm just saying, sometimes people, you're right. I mean, there's always more to the story, but we definitely live in, I think, in a Sue Happy generation of people where we like to take people to court and get money out of them. I mean,
Yeah, and I don't even think it's because lawyers have become that good at their job. I think it's just because these companies just don't want to.
they just want to
fight.
pay out and move on.
They just want to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their insurance allows them
Yeah.
to do that. And
What they just paid that one person, they'll get it back in a week.
Oh,
No
yeah.
doubt. No
Yeah,
doubt.
absolutely.
I'm serious. McDonald's didn't lose any money over here, I promise.
Yeah.
Think about this. For every burger that's even sold in Colorado alone, let's just say Colorado alone has like multiple McDonald's. They're probably making like anywhere to $3.5, $4.5 trillion within,
You're throwing out figures on the
No,
business
no.
that we have really no idea.
No, I'm
about.
just saying everything's up in the trillions for them. There's no doubt. People are buying McDonald's every day. I'm pretty sure they're up in the millions or trillions.
Yeah, I mean, you can
I'm
just
just
only
saying.
imagine. I think the CEO of McDonald's could probably
Even
run
if
for
I'm just
president and make
throwing out a guess.
But again, not to harp back on texting, but every time I see a texter and driver who is just apparently not paying attention on the road, my first instinct is to get in front of them and let them hit me. Boom. Hit from the rear, you automatically win. But on top of that, their insurance is going to pay out more because they were texting and driving, if you can prove that. But,
Well, I hope that you realize that that's an ignorant thought.
No, and that's why I've never done it. But when I see texter and drivers, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking is
Lesson learned
Lesson
kind of thing. So
learned,
I'm going to
absolutely.
teach you a lesson. Watch this.
yeah.
Yeah, I've had that go through my head, but at the same time, I look at the ramifications of it all. The follow through on what all that causes, because that person could realize at the last minute, yank the wheel, hit a curb, hit a pole.
Oh, there's so many different scenarios that can play out. You're right. Which again is why I've never put myself in that situation.
So I was on the highway this morning actually when I was driving Zane to school, and I was telling him about how the highway goes, because I've driven it so many times, about how it bottlenecks at a certain place, and that all the traffic slows down. And there is so many times in the middle of the afternoon that people that are not paying attention, there's a curve right after it bottlenecks, and it goes from like 5 lanes down to 3, and it happens as it exits a lane strictly to only be able to exit off right, and it narrows it down right after that. And so a lot of people are unaware, and there's so many accidents in the afternoon because of people are flying down and they get to that, and people are slowing down and people aren't realizing it, and they just slam one another. And I was telling Zane about that, and I was saying that that's the kind of stuff that you have to be aware of all times. You have to learn those things about your routes that you do and your surroundings, about the vehicles around you. Know those kind of things, but to be aware consciously all the time about your surroundings while you drive, and just trying to teach that to an inexperienced driver, trying to convey that of the things that I've just learned over time.
Yeah. No, and you hit the nail on the head earlier with the whole phrase defensive driver. You have to be a defensive driver driving out and in anywhere today, be it small town Arkansas or big city Colorado. You have to be a defensive driver. We're going to just segue into other things. Let me see. So, you know what? One thing I wanted to talk about is, since we all have kids, is the way we were raised versus the way we're raising our kids. So we grew up with a belt, right? In fact, we grew up with a pretty thick leather belt, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. Uh, Dad was the pinnacle to our family, and that dude held a leather thick belt. That was how I perceived that man growing up. In his OD green underwear, shirtless, holding the belt.
Brown. His underwear was brown.
Brown, yeah, or teddy whitey, one or the other. But he did not.
So you can hide your shit stains.
He wore them until he got holes in them. Which
I know.
Pretty,
It was free.
pretty much the same for
Free
all the
underwear. I
dads.
bet he
Yeah.
just walked in and said, "Hey guys, you got any spare you got a spare pair?" And everybody was like, "Sure," because who in the hell wears those? But Dad.
Well, I
I'm
think-
pretty sure all his buddies threw underwear
I
his
think
way.
he would have bought those at the surplus store on base. Not the surplus stores, but what do
Well,
they
he
call it?
liked them so much, I guess he would pay for them.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm pretty sure
so,
they
uniform
so,
store.
so this is the thing with that though. It wasn't. I don't think that it was that he enjoyed wearing
I think so.
brown
I
or
think he
green
did.
underwear. The thing is
Convenience?
that no. Well, convenience being this is that Dad was constantly in the field, and they required a certain amount of your brown underwear be in your sea bag, or your duffel bag.
That's true, and we can all relate to that.
So
Absolutely.
he has to carry a certain amount. He just gets used to it. Fuck it, that's just the underwear I wear. That black socks. I wear solid black socks. I've always worn that shit. It's easier for me to match it up out of the dryer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just convenience, and you don't give a fuck. Who cares what color your underwear are? You're the only one wearing them.
And Dad is the epitome of zero fucks. You know what I mean? That dude he does not give a fuck, man. In fact, I wrote you guys a song not too long ago, and part of that song was the fact that Dad would leave us in the back of that truck, in the Ford truck. And this is by no means any kind of neglect,
Oh,
man.
no. I
we learned lessons in the back of that fucking truck,
Oh, yeah.
But Dad his whole career was in the hull of a tank. You know what I mean? So when it was the hottest, he was in that sumbitch with kids who weren't too much older than us when they were first coming into the military. And when it was cold, it was the coldest. And so him leaving us in the back of the truck in the shelter, in the camper, when we had to do things, he just looked at it as, it'll toughen him up. And I'm
I don't know if it's the whole. I don't think he had any real thought process with that. I think it was just he had a truck, and somewhere in his head, he sold himself the idea of having a truck versus the van.
I love that van.
And he had put that shell over the back with the boot, and he was thinking it would be warm enough to get back to us. And this theory just didn't work. It just. But we
He
we
wanted
were
that
able
damn
to,
truck, though, didn't he? He wanted that damn truck.
and it worked. I mean, I remember just flying down the Autobahn, being in the back of that thing, laying on that wooden bed
That we
platform.
eventually demolished, and then it turned into a Foot Locker.
So, but those were times where we'd sit there and we'd take turns going up to the center section where the boot was with the sliding
The
door.
boot wasn't even there no more after like our first few months in Germany. You popped that shit, man. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And the boot left.
yeah.
And Dad tried to make it work by patching it. And Scott, Scott, you sat up front with Mom and Dad in a car seat, so you had like all your heat. We were
I
in
don't
the
remember
back.
that. I remember.
Yeah,
sitting
you don't
in the back.
remember Kids Again.
No. Kids Again, I was in the back.
Were you?
Yeah, it was
Oh, you probably
it's
just
when
moved to
Dad
the back.
first got it in
Yeah.
Fort Hood, back in the 1979ish is when I sat in the front.
Well, we went to Kids Again in '83, so you probably might have been 6 or 7, but you
I
still
was in
shouldn't.
the. I remember I was in the back.
But that Foot Locker turned into our life, man, and we all huddled on that thing together. We all snuggled on that thing together. We all sat on that thing trying to catch every view out of the front of the truck as we could. And again, and Mom and Dad weren't neglecting us. That was just, it was allowed to, and I don't think it was a convenience.
That was just the way it was.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything different. Just like, you had...
And not to mention, we were the only ones in fucking Germany with a truck anyways. People were like, damn, Fred, you brought a truck over to Germany? Because most of those guys wouldn't bring a truck over there. Not to mention a single cab truck with fucking a camper shell on it,
Actually, I have doing some deep thinking in it with my whole... And love or passion for lowrider pickup trucks comes from when I was in ninth grade over there. There was one of these kids, one
Yeah.
of the older kids that had
Tony,
brought,
right? His name was
yeah,
Tony.
yeah.
I can't
he
think
had
of his
brought,
last
he
name.
he had brought that yellow lowrider mini truck down there, and he was
Had it
working on
Mr.
that.
Stupak's Auto Body Shop. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like totally in awe of that, and I was thinking, oh, I'd love to have one of those.
And that's what was going on in the States at that time. You know, and that's what I loved about being in Germany is when we had new kids come over from America and all the news they would bring with them, you know, not to mention the trends and the styles and stuff like that. I remember
New VHS tapes.
VHS tapes which were insane. We always were looking for the newest movie. That every time a new kid came to base that was from the States,
And it was a skater.
We'd
go and pick his
brain
video.
on the newest. Yeah. It was crazy. It was like something not just we did, but like all the kids did. So what's going on in the States? Because we were so out of tune of what was going on. Unless it was priority, AFN wouldn't even air about what was going on. You know. I was trying to think of something that happened or that was trending in America, and then we picked up on it. But we were so involved in skating.
But that, not if it was kids again. We were involved in breakdancing at that time.
No, well,
Wearing
kids
fat
again,
shoelaces.
We were breaking.
Yeah, we were breaking, entering contests, having a
I
good time.
remember we wore the Playboy bunny hats with our
Oh
initials.
yeah, oh yeah. Michael used to have socks all the way up to his fucking knees. It was
Not
insane.
only socks, but they were tube socks.
Yeah, they
man.
were tube socks, colorful ones. Like
Remember that time? So we lived in Kitzingen, and some of you guys who are following me, who were there in Germany, or been in Kitzingen, you know that Marshall Heights was like the American neighborhood.
of breakdancing.
And we lived almost at the top of the hill in Marshall Heights, if any of you guys remember the hill. And my brother got on a pair of my mom's roller skates, and he skated down that hill in a squat position. And Mike, didn't you fall and like road rash your ass and leg?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a story, for sure. That was that's one of those things.
Those skates were like the gayest fucking skates anybody could put on to.
I mean, they were just the skates for that time, just like anything else. That shit was just came out the disco era. People had
just came out. That shit was already 15 years
No,
old.
that was
10. We'll say
that was
10.
late.
Why was he
70s.
skating?
That was
Roller
late
skating.
70s.
Well,
wasn't it?
so we all, you know, that hill in Kitzingen, man, Kitzingen was such a badass post. Kitzingen had perfect
was.
sledding.
Marshall Heights.
Had perfect sledding. It had the woods where we would go play Army in all day long. We would be playing Army in these fields all day long.
Yeah, that one huge hill that was by the school, and it was no matter what during the winter we could sled down it,
And
then
then in the
during the
rainy
rainy
season,
season we would slide
mud
down that thing.
sliding,
Oh yeah, it
yeah.
was so awesome.
It was like a
we
full-
cut the
like-
shit out of ourselves, and we'd get hurt, but it was the funnest thing.
Listen,
It was so awesome.
And I'm going to reference this right now. If any of you guys listening have ever seen Romancing the Stone,
yeah, that's
that
a
mudslide
good-
that they
yeah.
were involved in, not that crazy, but it was just as awesome. I mean, there was you could literally sit in this thing like a water slide and just let the mud just take you for a ride, man. It was awesome. But you know, and that's again, you know, doing things. We rolled all over that base. I remember when we lived downtown Kitzingen, I used to walk to baseball practice, you know, and that's just because Dad would get home late. We only had one car. Mom would say, you know, I got Scotty, Joe, and Tom. I got to start dinner. Your practice starts at 4:30. You better start walking. And I would just take off on about a 3.5 mile walk one way. But
Yeah, I know. And I remember that as well. I remember that I had met this German kid out in town when we lived on base. And I'd ride out to his house because he had a track in his backyard. Just a regular bike track. And I'd go over to his house and we'd race around his track in his backyard.
yeah, Kitzingen, yeah.
And so I know I was having those thoughts, and I was like, wow. And then I remember the time where we used to go down into town to go to the Wiesbaden, to the big pool that they had downtown. I remember that one of our friends got hit by a car when we were trying to cross one of the roads, and we were walking our bikes, and the guy turned into him.
Yeah.
And he was trying to pay him, and he was like, I'm so sorry. He was trying to talk to him in German. He's like, I'm good.
Oh, that swimming pool was awesome. Remember? It was like an Olympic swimming
absolutely.
pool.
Oh, and I love going there. There was some crazy memories that I had. And that was, young kid, and I could just remember seeing that the women were hairy during that time. You know,
Not only
I
that,
was
but they weren't ashamed either.
yeah. So, you know, that young, but definitely eyes wide open about what's going on. I remember, you know, I loved all the smells during that time. Like, I could definitely live back to that. But they had the brochin and the bratwurst that were right there. And I loved that mustard. And so we were always having mom or trying to solicit money from mom so that we could go down there, because it was like there was like a couple marks to get inside the swimming pool area, and then we'd wanted some money for lunch and whatnot. So we were always trying to go down there, and mom would just let us go, which was way crazy. You know, looking back at it, that's what I was saying earlier, is like people have kind of froze up on letting their kids travel too far, but we were in overseas and going downtown as these young kids.
Getting chased by the Turks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember the Turks, man. They all like studied karate. And we were playing,
No,
like,
your
traditional
friends
sports.
studied karate. Those were those Asian guys that we had as friends, and we thought we could use them as like Karate Kid and shit.
Yeah.
And I remember that big brawl we had right out front when Dad started stomping all their heads in because they were trying to run
he
up.
wasn't physically touching.
I know
them.
he was. I know what you're saying. He wasn't
bowing
physically
up to him.
He was just scaring them.
What did we do to piss all them off? I remember they like wanted our GI Joes or something, didn't they? What was going on?
Remember
there?
when they threw Tom off of that little bouncer?
Yeah,
Remember
you know
that?
what?
And that's
we were
they just
over
never
at
liked us.
one of Dad's
I don't
friends'
know.
house.
They just didn't like
He had a daughter
Americans.
our age, and all those Turks would just be over there, just
And
running, just
Gotta run
like,
from the Turks.
yeah,
The Turks are coming. Gotta run from the Turks.
That was a very interesting. That's a very interesting time for sure.
Freaking living in a
That
haunted
wasn't
house.
the first or last time we've ran into just crazy situations
Yeah.
like that. You know, even
Well, the
and
whole
we can
the whole
just-
situation was crazy itself. We lived downtown. We didn't speak a damn lick of German. We were chased by Turks.
Our
Our
house
house
was
was
haunted.
fucking haunted. I mean, seriously, like, and Mom just let us go do whatever we wanted. Other than, remember the freaky graveyard
where
with the
supposedly
it had
Dracula
yes,
was buried.
well, it was the Burgomeister, and
The
I've learned that
Burgomeister.
over time. Yes, the Burgomeister's grave, but it was crazy because it had devils and it had bars and it was just funky looking, and
Gargoyles?
we
Was it
always.
gargoyles or devils.
I thought it was gargoyles personally,
yeah.
but it looked like demons.
Either way, it was crazy. And all this was in Kitzigan. And Kitzigan was by far one of the best duty stations Dad had that we were able to remember. We weren't really...
Couldn't go into
Actively, I mean,
farms
we
without
never-
getting shot at
Yeah.
salt rock guns. We were always forewarned. Don't ever go. Remember that time you guys scared the shit out of me with Glow Man? Do you remember that shit? I still remember that shit. I got PTSD over that,
I
man.
guess Glowman would be like what Slender Man is to these kids.
Oh, well,
these days.
yeah. Well, what you guys did was freaking wrong. You got me all the way down the hill. It's late at night. And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking at all you guys running, and I'm like, what's going on? And Shane's like, it's Glowman. He's coming out of the... And I'm like, what? And, I'm like, what the heck is this? I've never heard of Glowman before, but hey, it worked. I mean, it scared the shit out of me because I didn't know what was going on.
It's just from the mentality of us enjoying the whole scary movies. And
Oh, yeah, that's when... Yeah, I got you.
Halloween and just that. And I'm still, I was
What
just
about the kid
ranting
with the
about
washer
this.
and dryer that said he saw his sister?
yeah,
I still remember that story. And it wasn't his... Was that true, or were you just, jerking around with
That's
this?
what that dude told me. Like,
He saw his sister. Did I tell you that Dad had to report to the barracks because his one of his soldiers would refuse to sleep in his room because he said there was a German Nazi in his room, chilling out.
Yeah. And so I think Dad partially believed that. You know what I mean?
I
Not
just think
partially,
there has
Dad
to be something
wholeheartedly
there.
believed that. Oh, yeah, definitely. Mike, you saw a lot growing up in our apartment that we had downtown Kitzigan. And I don't even remember. I didn't really do any history or fact checking on Kitzigan, but I think there was a Nazi regime that went through that area.
Yeah, well, that's what Harvey Barracks was, Shane. Harvey Barracks was a Nazi base during World War II. I mean, we took it over and occupied it and turned it into American base. They still had Panzers and German, all kinds of stuff on that base when we took it over after the post-war. So yeah, there was a lot of things going on in Kitzigan. Technically, it's a farming community for wine and stuff like that, and
It's beautiful.
It's
I've
beautiful.
looked at it on Google Maps.
and it's called the
hovered above it.
Schwimmbad, guys. The
The
Schwimmbad.
Schwimmbad, yeah.
That's where we used to go, right there in the middle of the water. It was the Schwimmbad.
The Schwimmbad. And
Yep.
they had an Olympic like.
Oh yeah,
platform
I
diving
would
board.
never
It
jump
was
off
insane.
that. I never went off. Did
Mike,
any of
you
you
jumped
go
off.
off it?
You
Did
jumped
Mike
off
jump
it.
off?
Oh yeah.
I never
Mike-
jumped off of it.
Mike also jumped off the Hardy Bridge, which was insane.
Did you jump off the Hardy? Okay, that's cool. I have to admit, you could have died, but I mean, you did it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He ran through glass, so apparently he's got some.
I think back through time, and I've always tried to push myself to do things that were scary. Put myself into positions to do that, to try to overcome fear, because I am fearful of whatever, and just push myself through it. All the different things. So.
Yeah, I think it's something that's inside all of us, that we have just always been envelope pushers to an extent. Me, I've never broken a solid bone. Both of you guys have broken wrists. Mm-hmm. And what else? Anything else? Just your wrists? Both of you guys have had some nasty wrist breaks, haven't you?
Oh yeah,
from skating.
Michael was the first. Remember when he L-shaped his wrist
Yeah.
and he got up and he looked at it and we were like,
man.
"Oh God, we better go."
Dude, I'm about to queeze out just thinking back
Yeah.
to that. I can
Oh, Shane,
specifically
actually,
remember that day.
I remember when Shane did the zombie flop. I do remember that. I think you had a Jeff Grosso at the time, that green one. It was a green Santa. No, what? Hold on. Jeff Grosso was Santa Cruz, was he?
Yeah.
Anyways, the point is, I remember that Jeff Grosso. I've always liked it. It was a cool board. You were always big in the Lance Mountain, and you had a Jeff Grosso for a while because of the designs and stuff. But you were on that board, and we were hitting that launch ramp outside of the tennis courts down at the high school, dude. And what happened is you just went too far on your back, and you were literally like parallel with the ground with your back.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, that was you. No, I know it was you.
It wasn't. No,
I know
Mike,
who it
correct
was.
him.
No, I know who
Who
it
was?
was. It was Jason.
Yeah. Oh man, Anthony.
Jason something, but he's the one that had the Ford
Yeah.
Bronco. Blonde hair. He had a
Yeah,
trampoline
yeah,
in his
yeah.
house. The dude bit
Yeah.
the end of his tongue off.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that was not me. I'll tell you right
No,
now.
but that
man.
dude did it straight up. He did the zombie
yeah.
flop.
He
right
flew through the
there.
air
Yeah.
like he was sleeping.
I've always thought it was you
that
for
was-
some reason, because whoever
No.
got up was wider than a ghost,
Listen,
and I
man,
remember that.
I will be
part.
the first to tell both of you guys.
Yeah.
I was fearful of launch ramps. And the reason why I was is because I did not know how to launch. I was not built to launch. My body did not want to launch. I launched a couple times in my life, but I was fearful of the launch ramps. But Mike Aaron
Okay,
made it look
so
so graceful that we all wanted to just
I stand
try.
corrected then. I'm sorry. I thought it was you.
No, that's fine.
And for some reason, I was thinking it was you because I could have swore you did it one time. I remember. Okay, so here's the thing. Maybe it wasn't you, but I know one day I watched you do something off a launch ramp, and you were scared after that, and I think you almost did hurt yourself.
I probably almost did.
And maybe who was this guy? Who was the other guy?
Who launched and did the zombie flop?
Yeah, and
So
did
his
the
name
zombie-
was Jason. I want to say Anthony. I want to say his name was Jason Anthony.
Did he
but
live
I'm
on
not-
our base?
No, he was on Graph.
Oh.
Remember, but they would all stay after school and skate with us.
Oh, yeah.
because we had the
We had the group,
We took
man.
the tennis ball.
Oh my
wall
god!
down.
I always tell people that I know, I was like, living in Vilsack was probably the best years of my life because we had so much fun as brothers. We skateboarded a lot. We always went everywhere a lot. We
had
went
each
to
other's
skate
backs,
parks. Yeah,
yeah.
we had each other's backs. Kids again was amazing, but if I was to hone in on my favorite time in Europe, it was definitely Vilsack, and it was because of skateboarding.
Well, no,
Skateboarding.
you were older.
Yeah, well,
and you were
but
older.
it is because of skateboarding, though. I loved it. It just was something that I've always had such an attraction.
Yeah, and
for
you
it.
saw just the other day, we took your boards out to the park here.
Yeah.
And the most I do anymore these days is just surf on my skateboard. I don't even own one, but you were afforded me the opportunity to do that with your daughter on her scooter the other day, and I just kind of threw some style on some surf, just moving back and forth, and just enjoyed that, just being able to pump and stay balanced on my board at 44. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pop a couple ollies here and there. But it's something that's in us because we did it for so long. It was like a part of our lives and who we were. And look at us today. We even still dress like that era. We're not too far cast from what we were.
I'm afraid that I got stuck in 1994.
Yeah. Me too.
But I'm okay with it. Like, and that's, I think about that all the time. It's like, why is it that
I
I'm
like
there?
Alanis Morissette.
I like Alanis Morissette. She's a little post 94.
Well, I know, but she's
No,
still
I mean,
within
but
that time
I
frame.
remember Korn was coming out during that time, and it just seemed maybe
All the
that was
good
a really
music.
powerful time in my life where just things were just really coming to life. Then I don't know. I just that 94 just seems to be the time I'm just kind of revolve around for some reason, and I still listen to the music during that era.
Yeah, me
So
too.
89 to 90 would be mine then.
89 to 90.
Yeah, because those were Vilsec days, and that's when we would sit up all night and watch freaking all those skate videos, and then the next day
Just go out and live 'em.
Go out and live them.
You know what sucked about
Yeah.
that is you would watch them all night. We would watch tape after tape, and remember we had all of them. Propaganda. We had all the
Bandits, Propaganda,
yeah,
8th
all
Street,
the, yeah,
freaking
8th Street, yeah.
Wheels
And
of
the
Fire.
next day would be raining, and we were like, "Where is a damn dry spot we can go skate?" And we would go hunt it down and skate.
Or
it.
sit in the carports and be annoyed with that. I know. And you know what I used to like? Putting the boards on top of each other so we could learn how to get our ollies higher. Remember that?
Stacking them, side to
stacking them.
side, yeah.
Yeah, side to side so we can learn how to get our ollies higher. And it worked. I mean, it was really productive. And then finding ways. Remember, so me and Robert
Schumacher.
Schumacher. We by his house was all this random wood, so we made these really nasty ramps. One of them had like oververt, and the other one was just like a really bad transition. And we thought we were so cool because we designed it ourselves, even though it probably would have fallen apart if we got any closer on the exterior of the, you know what I mean, of the ramp. And so the thing that I guess where I'm getting at is, those were times when I think our boldness and wanting to learn and into a sport that we all wanted to one day, I think, be professional at. You know what I mean? Maybe not you so much, but I know I did. I did.
You had a good path to it, Scott.
Yeah.
I was always just I enjoyed this
Because I guess I
enjoyed it.
was the one entering all the contests.
Well, you did some sick melancholies, dude.
Yeah.
You were able to get just these sick melancholies. You were able to get up on the rails, like ollie up onto. And, I know we were bonusing the handrails then at that time, but even then we weren't landing them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I just always was very conservative with skating, which is why I never broke anything. The worst I ever had was a 3rd-degree sprain, but. You guys, Scott, especially you kind of put yourself out there more. Mike, you kind of put yourself, I think you were just more aggressive in general with the way you rode. Because you rode fast and hard in a sense. Like you just, I don't even know where you developed me. I just kind of was more conservative with all of that. I didn't really try to, bust out anything big at any given time. I liked sticking to simple tricks, ollies and no complies and of course any kind of boneless.
Yeah, you took on, Lance Mountain's street style of skating.
Yeah.
I mean, you essentially did. He was very basic on the street. He was a badass in the bowl, but he was very basic
and that's
in
one
the
thing
street.
I wish we
sure.
all could have got more of. Is just
We definitely
Bulls had like
mimicked.
that.
We always-
mimicked our
yeah.
the people
Mike
that
Vallely
we-
for you, right? That's who
Yeah.
you're.
Mike had Tony Hawk's, though.
No, Mike was Matt Hensley.
Matt Hensley
Yeah.
was. I enjoyed his from 8th Street. Matt Hensley, and then
Jason Lee.
Jason Lee, yeah.
And then that was the dude after
Yeah.
that. That was
No, Jason Lee. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
There's
was
a
totally
war outside of your window.
And so I remember, watching that video and just totally just loving his character, just weird.
Because it fit you.
and
It
just
fit
flowed
Michael's
and-
character.
Yeah, and then when he was doing shows or he had landed that position in Hollywood, I was totally
Acting, yeah.
proud of him, and just totally, like, wow. there
Yeah,
we go.
because
somebody
he-
that
yeah.
would deserve to get a spot in weirdness and have a different character.
And even still to
Getting
this day is still so subtle in his life as a big Hollywood actor. You don't really see him, and they're not chasing him on TMZ.
No, I
That
have him
dude's
on
just
Instagram.
Really subtle.
He does
yeah.
a lot of pictures nowadays.
Yeah,
That's
I
what he
got
does,
Most
picture
of, I
books.
got all the Bones Brigade on Instagram. I'm gonna go get Jason Lee, I guess. Matt Hensley would be one. Mike Vallely, I got Mike Vallely on Instagram. That dude's doing some great thing. He's like a single parent doing some good things through his own foundation. Tony Hawk, all them guys are doing some good things. We could do another whole podcast just on our idols, man.
that idols, definitely have to use that loosely
Absolutely.
because there was a time where I really kind of had I did kind of idolize those guys and thought that they were, so much better than us with their style, And, and we could look at Chip. Remember his gracefulness, the way he moved around on a skateboard,
Skip.
It's like, yeah.
Skip, yeah.
Yeah.
Skip Miller.
With the red
Lived
hair.
in Mena,
and-
Arkansas. up until like 4 years ago. Then moved to Branson, man.
Really?
There's a big house on Table Rock up there. Yeah. Skip Miller started his own graphics design place in Mena, Arkansas, of all places.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I told you guys about that.
So
I
anyways,
said, yeah, go ahead.
So what were we talking about?
Just style, Skip Miller, how he was able to.
Okay, so we had these expectations of these guys watching these videos, and it would push us to do tricks, learn things, push ourselves. We'd learn these new tricks, or we'd get these videos and we see these guys doing these new things and think, okay, we need to step it up now. How awesome is that? And then, but when we went to that event there in
Munster.
Munster.
You guys went to Munster. Yeah, I didn't go.
And so when we went there, we got to hang out with the guys out in the streets. And when we did, that's when I realized that those guys have just as many falls as anybody else.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
They fall and fall and fall and fall, and then they
Miss
get
a trick
it.
and just keep going. And
So-
then on video, it looks so perfected. Yeah.
Exactly. So then when you see that, you're thinking, wow. It's just persistence. That's all it is. This person's now they would land their shit more often than not.
And pull out some gnarlier stuff. Absolutely. Higher, tweaked. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So but then it grounded me with my thinking of who they are, just regular people, and then it just changed at that point. That changed for me and my whole how I perceive people around me. I'm just like anybody else around me. I just have to find out what my passion is and what
And
I'm
be
good
persistent
at.
at it, yeah.
Persistent.
Well, one thing I've been persistent at is being a parent. For sure.
Right? But like how many people are good parents?
Yeah.
And then what would define a good parent? Because I was just getting a compliment a couple of days ago from this guy at my job who said, you've stayed with your kids the whole time. Your kids live with you. Your kids want to live with you.
Yeah.
Your kids love you. And I think, well, but there are things with that is that I've been on both sides. I've been the absent parent to Burr, and I know what that's like. I know what that's like where you have these intentions to want to go and connect with that person or anything, and you don't. So, just life just teaches us all these lessons of, not to judge other people because you haven't been in their shoes.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I feel you in that. And there is no written book on parenting, and there's no right or wrong way. And I definitely have the absentee father thing going on in my life with my son Kyle, who's a father now himself. And is he going to get it right? He may not. I'm not going to say that what is right and what's wrong is wrong. He's going to be the best father he can be, though, and I can tell that just by reading, by staying in touch with him on his Facebook. Do I wish I had a hand at grooming him into the man he is? Absolutely, but that was completely on his mom.
Well, there's no finger pointing with that. It's just the way the cards laid out.
Yeah.
That's just the way things went down. There are things where you decided not to step in and decide to step away, or there's always everybody's input on the actions that came about, why they are the way they are. So you would have been a part. You would have done your part. You told that person that prior to her leaving that you wanted to be a part of that thing. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, so that's in the cards. So that kid's life is determined because of the actions of somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, well, but it's not that you never even try to reach out. You even going there and having any kind of say and letting them know, hey, this was the circumstances. That shit is squashed, if anything, to me.
Yeah, and I think really, and I really don't beat myself up over it. I think sometimes I do have my spurts where I do, and I reach out to them and try to be more involved. But you're right. It was a situation where, number one, we were both just way young. And number two, our parents retired at the same time and moved different places. And number three, there was no reconnecting once we were apart. I mean, we were two different people. You know what I mean? And that child, he didn't bring us any closer at any given time in my life. So, I mean, and it's not completely on her. I don't completely blame her. I blame myself for not trying harder, I think, is when I beat myself up. But you know, it is what it is, and I adapt and overcome that situation, and I hope still to someday be really good friends with Kyle, just distantly, you know. He's got a wedding coming up in June. He's already got one kid, so I'm not sure how things are going to play out for him when it comes to life for him in general, but I would still like to see that, if not through Facebook, you know, maybe a little more personal through phone calls if we can get to that point. But, you know, I'm just going to let it happen when it happens. I think we all reach a point in our life where we want to know our parents despite situations.
Or do we? You know,
Or do we? Yeah.
You know, and I say that because I look at Levi, you know, and not to drop names or anything, but his dad came into the picture and tried to be involved, and then was so hell-bent on trying to get himself fixed that he had to take a leave of absence from trying to be a dad altogether. And when he did that, that Levi kind of X'd him out, you know, and
Yeah.
that was when he was like 13 years old, you know, just done with his dad's promises that he never kept and whatnot. And he has no desire now. He has zero desire to know his dad.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that story doesn't play out for everybody. Sometimes
Doesn't
people
mean
just
it
don't
can't change over time, though.
Time heals, and I am a big proprietor in time heals all.
For right now, you're right, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Levi is a very intelligent kid, and he has so much going
And he has
on
a
for
heart.
him.
That kid has a heart.
He does
like
have a
nobody's
heart,
business,
and
yeah.
he's just right now. He's like how we were. We were just ready to pursue life and start doing things. And I'm pretty sure one day it's gonna wrap around again. Maybe,
possibly,
Yeah,
you know, and that's
possibly.
in the effort of that they choose, you
Yeah.
know, that but currently exactly, that's the thing you have to be careful with. And stating things now, things do change rapidly.
Yeah.
and the things that you think that would never happen so that's the crazy thing about this wonderful world.
Oh man. Where are we?
So-
Go ahead, Scott.
So the annual gross income of McDonald's is $143.5 billion. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's
No,
almost
that's
close
not-
to one
yeah.
trillion. But
I think I'm just below that.
I was
Emily.
way off. But I just wanted to bring that up. So I did do a research on that just to see. And anyways, other than that, I just wanted to bring that up. So next topic. What else, Shane?
No, what I was getting at in the beginning, we went down this huge rabbit hole was, are we raising our kids the way our parents raised us? Are we more conservative? Or are we less caring? Are we more caring? I mean, I think we all have really good kids. And I can't say that about everybody I know. And I'm not judging nobody for the way they raise their kids at all. I'm just saying we all have really good kids. Do you think that's direct relation to the way we were raised?
What defines a good kid?
You know, to me, staying out of trouble. Let's just do something basic. Staying out of what I would consider serious trouble. Juvie, suspension, expelled, Saturday school all the time. Now, if your kid gets Saturday school a couple times throughout their life, you don't have a bad kid. I'm not trying to put a judgment level on this.
Well, what would be considered a bad kid? So if my kid got caught for doing something, would consider my kid a bad kid?
I guess
Because this is the reason why. Because my kids do test the limits.
Okay.
My kids, well, not kids. I can't pluralize that, but my daughter, my 16-year-old, she's gone out and partied and she's tried to live life hard at a young age, just like I did.
Yeah.
So I can't fault her, but I never got caught. I never
Yeah.
got caught for the crazy shit that I did. So does that make me a bad kid?
Well, so
Or
let
does
me ask
that-
you this.
you
No,
know-
let me ask you this now.
Does it make me a bad
too
kid
in
when I
depth
get
into this,
caught?
without getting too in depth to this, no. But so as an adolescent, we all go through these phases. You meet friends who have these different upbringings, whose parents are cool with you coming in their house and taking, gratuity from their beer. The beer in their fridge or the whiskey on their whiskey counters. I'm talking about bad, meaning like your kid is in school just disrupting people's lives, teachers' lives, other students' lives. And I'm not talking about bullying. I'm just talking about in general, just because they're just a bad kid in general. And they've been to, and I know you yourself went to an alternative school before you graduated, but that was because you skipped 100 and something days, not because you were beating up people or bullying or creating a disruption in people's lives. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just in general, and I didn't want to go too far into.
Well, I mean,
that aspect.
But I
I'm
guess
just saying.
I mean I had to define it because I mean, what is a bad kid? Because I would think that we all have had our bad kid moments, not just us, but
So
our
you don't
kid.
think there's a level of badness? We just clump it all together.
Well, I don't know. That's why I was asking you. I mean, who defines that? Because the kid that acts out in the store, and you're thinking, why the fuck doesn't that woman just beat that kid's ass? That would be a simple solution. But you don't know if that woman is having to fight with the fact that the kid's off of medication, or what his diet's like, or any of that stuff. I'm just saying, what would define a bad kid? Is that the kid that's defiant in the household that just disrupts his whole
okay, so
family?
let's just say us growing up, we pushed it too, but we came out all good. We all stayed out of jail.
We did, but you know what? We were assholes to mom. We were not respectful towards mom. We actually disrespected her. We ran the show. We pushed the limits hard all the damn time. Oh, and we put ourselves in troublesome situations.
Absolutely we did.
We just were very lucky not to get caught. So back to what defines bad kids.
Well, I was trying to use the KISS method on that, which is keep it simple. A bad kid, again, juvie, suspension, expelled, Saturday school. There's kids that are in our systems that are like this, and they're in these programs, or they're going to alternative school, or they can't go back to school, or they're in Saturday detention.
So hold on,
Saturday.
So this is a story right here, and I mean, and I guess I could understand what a bad kid is, just a piece of shit kid that.
Now, I'm not even saying piece of shit, because we know he's got something going on upstairs that he doesn't have, what maybe another kid has. So let's not say piece of shit. He's just creating troubles for everybody in their lives. And only thing I was trying to say is mom and dad, despite dad being in the field quite a bit, us, kind of running loose with mom and pushing our own envelopes, we still all came out good. And I see it in our kids. Is it something that we mimicked that our parents did to us? Or is it something that we kind of took the foundation of how we were raised and we laid it out for our kids? Or are our kids just overall good?
So I would think that it might be genetic. Just a predisposition of how we are genetically, and that just kind of flows. We're just easygoing. We don't cause trouble. We have I guess if you were to say the term, we have this Holy Spirit within us. We have love. Yes. We have this love, and our children have that love. And my kids have been through a whole crazy a lot, but still exude love, understand love, even though they're guarded like a motherfucker, and are very assholery. That assholery comes from protecting that.
Yeah.
But it's because they have huge hearts, so.
Spit it out.
No, I'm just saying that with kids, it's. Oh, no, I lost my train of thought.
We need to get Tom in on this. Somebody call Tom.
Call Tom up.
We need
I'm
to
all
get Tom
about
chimed in on this psychological stuff, because I'm pretty sure Tom can give a pretty good statement on how to define.
And I'll be honest
why
with you,
kids
Tom's gonna have to jump in the next one we do, because we're an hour and 11 minutes into this, and
well, I'm just saying,
Tom will take us into
I'm
2
saying
hours.
like when it's based off of like maybe the sociology and psychology of kids, Tom would probably have a pretty interesting
I think he'd have a good
and
insight
take
on it.
But I wanted to chime in on this because you guys have been.
I just want to point out Tom doesn't have kids, so despite the fact that he was able to go and get educated through psychology, he does not have kids. So I don't know where his
I would still like to hear his process, his
just through
thought
his
process
educational.
on it. Yeah, exactly,
just from
based
the
off of his
educational
education and credentials. Yeah. So,
but you did make a thing that I have kind of inserted into my life is like, who are you to teach me about something you have no idea of, other than some shit that you read? The best teachers in life are the people who've lived it, been there, done that, lived through it to be able to talk about it.
Not to take nothing away from you, Tom. Go ahead.
No,
but you're-
absolutely. But you know, what I mean, but
Well-
holy fuck, could Tom talk about Iraq or Afghanistan and,
Yeah,
and
all day long.
PTSD?
All day, like all day long. Yeah. Yeah, and I would never step in that realm because I was fortunate enough. And
I think
blessed
he
enough
would
to not
bring
have to go.
something interesting to the table when it comes to the
Yeah,
psychology
through
of
the
kids.
educational aspect
and
of it.
through
You're
the
right.
educational, exactly. It has. You're right, Mike. I mean, if you want to sit here and throw the card of you didn't have kids, you wouldn't have that understanding. I agree. That I would take you to 100% agreement on. But I'm just saying it would be interesting just to hear his take on all the education and schooling he's been taught to understand maybe some of the sociological and psychological aspirations of kids and especially since he's doing studies on urban kids and that are fostered and stuff. So that would be kind of interesting. Anyways, other than that, so here's my take on it. Good kid, bad kid thing. The thing
Well,
is,
you got a good kid, and I'm not even judging. You got a good kid.
all right,
So
but hold on.
before you
I
even
just-
get started, I just want to throw that out. We all got good kids, and I'm not just saying that because they're my nieces and nephews. We got good damn kids, and I see some bad ones out there. That's what brought this up. Is it genetic, like Mike was saying? I'm going to let you get to that. I'm going to recap. Is it genetic, like Mike was saying? It's in our genes, or is it a foundation that we grabbed from our parents and we brought it into our family? Go. Considering that. Well, I can go. Just go
Okay,
ahead.
Thank you. So I think it's a combination of different things. There could be some genetics. I can't prove that, and I've never have heard any studies on that. But I mean, there very well could be some genetics, I guess.
Just as far as a predisposition of the way their demeanor is. When you get when you have people that are blue collars and they're very introverted, their kids tend to be introverted because they're not outgoing. There's always mold breakers, to that scenario where the kid is just totally opposite of the parents. But for the most part, most kids are like their parents.
There you go.
It's environmental.
Is that what you were getting at?
That's
Scott?
kind of where I was getting at. Yeah, essentially, I think your upbringing does have a lot to do with your outcome, even when you do make things that are. Because remember, kids are curious. We all are going to step into the realm of curiosity and breaking laws and doing things that are not right. I'm not to say that all kids do that, but I want to say that for the most part, it definitely has a lot to do with the parents' upbringing of the kids' upbringing by their parents. For example, your kids, I think, I'll just give you an example. I think your kids seem to be very like Olivia, Gavin. They may they may have their excited side sometimes, but I notice they're well
podcast,
behaved.
we'll call them Sarah and Kate.
Okay, Sarah and
No,
Kate.
Sarah and Don or Jake. We'll say Sarah and Jake.
All right. So my point is I think because of your the way you handle your kids, you guys like to give them few of the food groups of life, what I call spirituality. You give them that. You provide that to them. You provide a healthy environment for them, places to live and eat. And by the way, if you guys have ever had a friend that grew up in the foster care system, you will see a huge difference in a person raised in the foster care system as opposed to a healthy family.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then so spirituality, physical love and treatment, and having a monetary value to bring to the table. You're not living so much in poverty that they're struggling to even take a lunch to school. You know what I'm saying?
We've been there.
Well, you may have been there, but my point is you're hitting all the right points. So we're looking at a kid's spiritual growth. We're looking at a kid's physical affection that they get from the parents. And we're also looking at just the fact that you've provided. Dude, you work your ass off, bro. And you work your ass off being a mom and a part-time jobber. So... both. Well, it's a good thing. My point is that you guys put a lot of energy into your kids, and therefore you have, I would say, good results.
Yeah, and I honestly think that comes from the fact that we wanted kids. And we started
That's another
early.
thing. Yeah, you had that.
Yeah.
You
So,
guys
and
wanted
I
kids
think
from
that's
day
where
one.
a big part of it comes from. And just to
Mike
kind
wanted
of hit
kids.
on that, I think what you guys said is exactly what I think. I think a lot of it has to come from the foundation. Me and my wife came from a great foundation. She lost her dad at age 17, but she still came from a good foundation of being raised. We came from a good foundation of being raised. We both came from a Christian or a spiritual foundation. We both knew that being in trouble was not the answer to life, or being disruptive. We both kind of had this philosophy on how we wanted to raise our kids. And to, just the bottom line, we both wanted kids. And I think that's something you guys have in common is, we wanted kids. We wanted kids.
Yeah. Happenstancely is how I wanted kids. I wanted kids, but not in the terms of where I'm set up to have kids. I just am haphazardly out there making kids. That's how I approached that. And looking back, that's a terrible way to tackle life, I'll assure you. But
yeah, well, I mean, you tackled it pretty good, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that kind of goes back to that beginning as I put myself in these positions to challenge myself. It's like I've made it through these different phases of my life, different challenges that I've had. And I had 2 points on the bad kid thing, and I'll let it go. But one of the stories I had was Shaden, when he was going up to the mountain school, there was a bully on the bus that was bullying these little kids. So Shaden brought a knife to school and showed the kid, hey, you need to stop bullying those kids. And he showed the kid the knife. Well, the kid told the bus driver, and the bus driver had to tell the principal. And
Sure.
And anyways, Shaden ended up with I think it was like a felony at 15 years old, because of that. He didn't open up the knife or stab the kid or anything, but because of the way after that shooting at the school, they have zero tolerance for any of that stuff. So, he could be viewed, and that shit has tainted his record. For him to be able to get things, it hindered him in a lot of ways because that followed him, that stigma that went with him. So I could understand there's an empathy that I have, and that comes with Casey as well, is like once you get in a system, it is hard for you to ever clear yourself of that. That is the hardest thing. And, if anything in politics, what would be awesome to see happen is expunging people from their shit. Give them a real time period to be able to prove themselves and just be done. You don't get to look at that, and I understand that, like 10 years or whatever, but there's a lot of good paying jobs that people miss out on because they did something stupid,
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. And the other story that I had with the bad kid is that I remember when I was with Faida, and I was trying to do the church thing, and I got really involved, and I was doing a study group for kids. It was like a Bible study for kids, and there was this kid that was just violent, and he'd go into these fits, and he was always doing his own thing. He wouldn't listen or anything, and his parents, had dealt with the same thing. And it's not that and I was thinking maybe there was just shit parents, just thinking that they just let him have his own way and they were the kind that put him in the corner and things like that. It wasn't like that at all. And they had it, they had zero clue of how to deal with this kid, And then that to me is like one of those bad seeds, where it's a known thing that person, it's just like us. I guess like Scott was saying with that book you read is there are people that are just soulless.
Yeah.
And they just walk around. They just they have this evil aura to themselves.
Bad seed.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I would see. Well, but yeah, I think we all have good kids. Good kids and put it in perspective of like being able to live a life and understand what's going on and think that they'll be all right if we were to die. They're in good standing, I think, for sure.
To go on and continue life without.
Yeah, or at least have an understanding and a good network of us family for them not to be so stumped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That could prove to be wrong if we had some kind of crazy civil war or some kind of war period, and it changes the mentality of everybody. You get to see the strengths of people.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that would definitely change society as a whole, though. I mean, that could be a whole podcast on its own about the possibilities of living in a post-apocalyptic style
Or
world,
even a Civil War situation,
or a Civil
where
War world.
I think every day just
where-
looking
where-
on the news and looking in social media, and just
But okay,
just
so
the-
with that being said, and politics is a hard one to jump into, especially with things the way they are. And I've thought about our differences with how we view politics, and without getting too in depth into that stuff, all I could do is anything that I would base things on, it would just be a humanity stance. How is it good for the all, or is that a loving feeling, or do I say stuff out of fear? But if we were to have some kind of civil war, has our government forced us to try to choose sides of a two-party system? To where it forces us to do that, or do we break into little groups? Like, how would that end up? And is there enough people in the South or anybody that feels so strongly about something where they would wage that?
No, I don't think it's just the South anymore. I think there is an absolute division and hate that's in those parties. And I mean, seriously, I think a civil war could be something that would be more in the near future than a world war. But, again, with that being said, you got,
and it does seem like it's being fueled by, I
think
I see
there
it
would
in
be-
social media all the time. It floods in
Yeah.
from both sides
Yeah,
for
Mike,
me. And
and
it's like, wow, if you're only getting one side to something, you could definitely have rage
Yeah.
or a definite
maybe
solid
we
opinion.
are in the reset button of times right now, if you want to call it that. I think our systems are trying hard to create that, and I think if something did happen, I think there would be pockets of independence where people who don't give a shit about either or, just want to be humane to everybody, would create their own militant militia, and it could be comprised of either party. And I don't want to be on one side or the other, but sometimes when I look at things in the news that is one-sided, yeah, I hate those people for what they're doing and for what they're acting on. Do I want to go and start popping them? That's to be determined. Antifa, a big thing right now. Do I like anybody that represents Antifa in any way? No. But as a human, I love my fellow Americans. But I don't get this Antifa crowd. And if that is who we would be fighting against, which it wouldn't be just Antifa, it would be a whole bunch of people who would probably support them in their agenda. But if it was predominantly Antifa, I'd say let's go to civil war right now. But it's not going to be like that.
It's not even that. That is such a fraction of the mindset of people. But it's just unfortunate that the news, once again, brings out that portion about these rallies. They tend to get this little small sect of people and just pronounce that as if that's a real huge thing. So you have to be careful with that because it's a fraction.
Well, and then you just look at it, okay, like this. And this is just something that happened to me recently, okay? And we'll bring this up real quick. So you have Antifa, and then you have the MAGA hat people, okay? So you could see that playing out on a Game of Thrones or a Game of War. You know what I mean? So
of
with that
course.
being said, though, let
That's-
me ask you something because this has kind of been sticking with me since I've been here. So I wore a red and white hat, Old Town Distillery, up to your house the other day. I know what it is. You don't from afar. You thought it was a MAGA hat. What was going through your mind, number one, about me? Were you judging me at all at that time?
Well, it was in this regard is because I had seen you get out of the truck, out of your vehicle, and I saw it with a red hat. And I thought it was going to be a funny play, like just to really kind of throw it out there. I'm not a big supporter of the MAGA thing, but I'm not in opposition either. I just kind of play middle ground because I could see good of certain things and I could see bad of other things,
Yeah.
And I don't jump on the whole hate a person because of his
Beliefs.
lifestyle,
Yeah, or his
you
lifestyle.
know,
Sure.
and I'm not looking for somebody to be a Christian to be my ruler or anything like that. It's, so I can take the good and the bad of anybody that's been in office, but the MAGA thing does hold a certain mentality or profile that goes along with that, with these hardcore.
But that's all
right
media
sided-
created, though.
Yeah, that is-
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, but you know what it does? It brings out those crazies, giving them a platform to be able to rock that shit
Well, not
out in
only
the
Well,
that,
that's
open
fine.
and
Go ahead
saying,
and let them come out because then in the end, I mean, they're gonna just be disclosed as a bunch of morons anyway. So,
how's it
so
gonna
the
stop
rest
it?
of us who are gonna sit back and watch all this and laugh at all the retards that are going through all this because
Yeah.
eventually
On both
it's gonna
sides.
die.
Antifa,
on both
MAGA,
sides, of
all of
course.
it, yeah.
On both sides.
I mean,
On
look at
both
this
sides.
kid.
But
Just
you,
got
so,
like,
but you asked, so I see the hat, and I thought it was just, you were gonna come in to be sporting that,
to
and
try
it-
to say something to you guys through my hat. You thought
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I was
as,
going to
as
do.
a joke. As a joke, I didn't think
Okay.
that you were really trying to
Well,
rock
I
that
know-
shit.
I know
And
I've
I was
always-
thinking, I was thinking to myself, if you were trying to be real about it, to really just support,
Be that type of person.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? That's ignorance because when you go out and about and people don't support that as a whole, they don't stand behind that. And there might be a mentality there in Arkansas that does, but here in Colorado, that's not a big thing. So like you said, you're just causing somebody to give you an insult, or to say something, or
I dare you. I dare you. Yeah. Come on, cross this line, knock this chip off my shoulder. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because people have these strong views based on media. And they're programmed, and that's how they believe, and that's the premise that they stand on. They absolute, and they'll use things like abortion. It's like then all of a sudden anybody that has a certain way thinks a certain way. And they make that so in
That's
their head,
because they
in their
don't
own
have
heads.
rationale, Shane or Mike.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. People that are pro-life or pro-abortion, the ones that fight against each other all the time are usually unrational people. And just remember that. And that's with all these groups. And so if a person can't wear a MAGA hat and just support what they believe in without being assaulted, which I've seen plenty of time already on the news again, then you know what? Then those are unrational people, and they have no
Absolutely,
respect for others.
But you draw that
for-
attention to yourself.
So what? Who cares?
Yeah, it's
Why does it
freedom-
matter?
it's a
Yeah,
freedom.
freedom of speech, man. Like they should be allowed to be themselves without feeling assaulted by other people because they're emotionally upset about it.
I know. Yeah,
Fuck
I
your
I
emotions,
still
man.
see
Fuck
the,
your
I still
emotions.
see the guys driving around here with the lifted F-250 diesel pickups with the
With
flags
rebel flags.
in the back of the truck, and they whip around here, and that's a thing, and that's
All
letting
right.
people know, hey, I'm
Okay,
American.
and I agree. Yeah, and I agree with. Look, and I agree with
I'm
Scott.
America.
I agree with Scott. Those are the freedoms that we possess. Okay, we live in the biggest butt-hurt society that we've ever lived in, and that's one thing that fills me too. Is just the feelings of people who are so overly offended that they just can't snap out of the reality that you need to just get your shit over it. That's what fuels me sometimes. Now, would I ever wear a MAGA hat? I've never wanted to buy one. You can ask Deb. We've never wanted to buy a MAGA hat.
It's not that important.
Would we
yeah.
have friends possibly that wear MAGA hats? Absolutely. Did we vote for President Trump? Absolutely we did. Did we ever want to be in an arena where we're boasting it so bad that we are enticing people to attack us? No, we don't want to be attacked by anybody. But I'm telling you this right now. If you're that simple-minded and weak yourself that you want to attack somebody for imposing fear because of words, you are by far the weakest person you could be mentally. So where are you at in your life? Because if you think about it, the people who are attacking all these people, they're all fucked up. And I'll say it. They are all people who are in some way. Yeah.
Well,
that's
maybe
not
they're
true.
No. It's based off. Hold on. Let's
all the
bring this-
videos I've
hold
seen,
on.
they are.
This is what we are seeing, and I trust me, I really monitor this stuff because I like to do research. We're just living in a very emotional time right now. People's emotions are on a high level of because of what's going on, of the civil disagreements within our society right now. The best thing you can do as somebody who, like, for example, if you're in support of things or not in support of things, it's all right. It's all right to have to be able to share your perspective. All right. But unfortunately, listen, this is what I'm getting at. But unfortunately, sometimes you're sharing your perspective with people that's emotions are already at the top. And then they don't have no other way to respond but lashing out. I'm not saying it's
No, I'm
right.
just saying, why are their
but
emotions at the top? Because Hillary didn't become president?
well,
That's exactly why.
But here, I don't know. I know, but I know, and it's very emotional based sometimes. But at the same time, there's logic needs to kick in as another like ABL, that guy Anthony Brian Logan I was talking about. He's very rational. He will listen to people that disagree with him, and he'll let them come on his podcast and talk about their disagreements because he doesn't mind sitting down and listening to what people have to say. If more people were like that, we would probably have a country right now that's a little bit more rational in their thinking, and all this upheaval would probably be a little bit more milder. But what's happening is you have people that are very sensitive and emotional to some of these things right now, confronting people that are very unsensitive to it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it just creates a bigger issue. So how do you stand in that? You know what I mean? How do you stand?
Yeah,
how do you? Yeah, especially.
Well, I stand the way I
I'll
stand.
give you an
I got a
example.
family. Yeah, go
you
ahead.
can go to Arkansas, where 20 out of every people may wear MAGA hat. I'm just using an example, and you'll feel just fine with that. But really, when you're up here, you live in a more diverse area where it's not MAGA country. In fact, it's a Hillary Clinton country. If you want to give an example, she won the votes here. So, I mean, if you want to look at it like that, it's a very democratic.
I've never personally seen one in Arkansas.
I know. I'm just using an
I've seen
example.
one.
I've personally seen one, but I've seen it on the news, and it's usually not in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not just.
It's not marginalized, Scott. Are you marginalizing?
Are you marginalizing a person right now? I'm marginalizing a state. No, what I'm just saying is that all I'm saying is Arkansas is a very red state. It's a very Republican, conservative state. That's fine. You probably will find more people there with rebel flags and MAGA hats. I'm just saying as an example because it gears more towards a Republican, conservative state. All I'm saying is out here, it's the opposite. So, I mean, if you want to wear a hat like that, that's fine. It should be your right to. Okay, I don't think people should impose their emotions on you. That's the biggest issue that I have is that people are imposing their emotions on other people's by saying, you know, that makes me mad. That's my trigger. And then I just want to say, well, get over it because that's you're infringing his rights and freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
And his freedom to his however he wants to be.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have stopped you from wearing it.
No,
but I definitely would have
would've.
warned you. I would have warned you that you will not. You will get some certain looks, and you might have somebody that has reached to that level
See,
to
now
where
I
they
want
feel
one just to get those looks.
where they feel like they need to tell you about how they feel.
Well, I also feel that as your brother. And number one, I would have never stepped into your house with any of my political beliefs on my shoulders. I know we've talked in the past, and I know we've shared things across Facebook, and I know you know where I stand. I really don't know where you stand because sometimes you are conservative and sometimes you're as far left as liberal.
Like I said, it comes down to humanity issues.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, I sit
we
on
do
the
have
fence
humanity
myself.
issues, but you know, at the same time, we have humanity issues that need to be addressed that may not be so humane. And war has been a big part of the world's ability to cure a lot of problems. Okay. Now, I'm not
I
saying
think
that
that's
we're
just
at
the
that point
result
right
that
now.
people get to. See, the truth
Oh
of
yeah,
it
when
is
people start
we
beating up on MAGA people.
yeah, no, well, no. I know, dude. Trust me. I'm with. I understand what you're saying. That's the problem. Is that our society is not rational when it comes to some of these things. They're very high emotional right now. Everybody's even on the Republican side. I'm just saying, everybody has these balls of emotion. And some people feel like their rights are being stripped of them, and some people feel like we're stripping them of you know their. So if you want to look at it like on both sides of the scale, you have conservatives, people that are more conservative about the way they live, and you have people that feel like it's more conservative to allow people to live the way they feel, hence, you know, more liberal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They feel emotionally attached to that, just like you feel emotionally attached to conservative values and stuff like that. They feel emotionally
Conservative
attached to
rallies? Never been to one.
I said conservative values.
Values.
Conservative
Okay. I thought you said rallies.
Just like some people are very emotional about their liberal values. They believe that some, you know, back in the day, I mean, there's no doubt, I can tell you this right now, no doubt beyond my mind that the Salem witch trials were definitely a good example of over-conservative Christians doing the wrong thing, all right? I'm just saying, I'm just using that example.
Hey, I can
So-
think of another one, the stoning of Jesus.
So, I'm just saying, like, there are always going to be people that are just overboard on all spectrums of the scale, and it's always good to just that. You know what people always say to me? Why are you always on the fence a lot? I'm like, because I don't really, I'm not so overbearing conservative, or am I overbearing liberal? I just kind of feel like people just need to kind of respect other people's boundaries, unless it obviously breaks our state's laws. You know
Okay,
what I
so,
mean? It goes into
like I can see. I guess the thing with like Scott is I can just see a lot of good in all the different things that are being proposed. I can see good coming from United Healthcare. I can see good coming from the wall, but then I can see there are so many other things where we could direct attention to invoke an emergency situation. It's like, where is our attention needing to be, and then where is the attention really being put, and what are the reasons behind it? What does that cause? And then so I see that the patch eye guy, him going down there, and he's getting a real deal on what's going on down there. But then you hear about if there's a wall, that's going to cause a lot of problems with land situations with these people. That land gets divided because of that. Yeah. So there's that aspect. So then we can look at the guy going down there and saying, and then they have these guys showing how many people come across that border,
and with what drugs and this and that,
and how it's affecting the communities and how it's filtering through. And okay, I get that. I can see how this helps, and I can see what that's going to do, and it could possibly give jobs and blah blah blah. All this stuff. I get that, but then there are simpler things that could be addressed currently that are not being addressed, and that is where I have concern. So many kids are thinking that they need to go to college currently and spend a buttload to go to college to do that. But our schools don't set them up properly to have that train of thought as far as what they're good at, as far as where they're best suited and what kind of trade or business or where they would excel at. There's nothing to give them. They get a general education, and then they have to figure it out from there, and they usually get into some college or some kind of thing where they end up owing forever into college. And that's ridiculous. And then these elite colleges where they get these things and they end up in positions, and then you find out about these kids are getting these places because their parents are paying for that stuff. It's like
that's unfortunate.
So I mean, but that goes on everywhere. But we have this train of thought thinking that we're going to go to school as the answer, and so I have these. So when you look at liberals or Republicans, and I think it'd be nice to have a school, maybe not a full fun ride through college, but to at least have where they can enter in college, and then they have a program to where they can push them the direction that the kid could go.
So here's what I think, and this is one of my philosophies, and actually I think good old Germany provided this philosophy to me a long time ago, and I'm not sure if they still do it because they might have changed their ways. They do. So here's what I'm saying.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm going to give you a free education. Guess what? You're going to get a free education, but you know what you're going to do? You're going to go work the damn border. That's what you're going to do, or you're going to go serve your military, or you're going to go be law enforcement, or you're going to go be a farmer. That's your options. You're going to go do those for 4 years of your life, and when you get done, I'm going to give you the best education for free that you can have. But you're going to do one of those things.
And they started implementing trade schools for kids that were interested in being a mechanic, and they would get them on that path, which I think was amazing.
Yeah, and if you go into any of those career fields, you can choose to be anything you want. Now, if you go work the border, it's obviously you're going to be watching a lot of the border. But you're going to be learning a lot of valuable trades, technical trades down there, too, that come with being in law enforcement. If you go in regular law enforcement, you're going to learn a lot. If you go into the military, you can pick any job you want. If you go be a farmer.
Having options, yeah, but I agree with you. And I was thinking about that earlier today as far as that goes. Because nothing should be for free because people take advantage of that.
Exactly.
But coming with a price means that you serve your country. Now, okay, but with that, though, not everybody gets to join the military. Zane's not going to get to join the military because he has asthma.
Go be a farmer.
So that's his option?
No.
Zane's a farmer?
No, and I'm just listing a few, but we could make a whole career field list of things, okay? Even not, I don't want to say entertainment because I'm not gonna want you to go learn how to be an actor, but news, weather, stuff like that, that is a necessity.
Let me interject here.
Go ahead.
So, my buddy Tom Johansson from Sweden, he was gainfully employed as a bus operator before he came to America and did buses. So he did not at the time really regard being in the military wasn't his thing, even though they were doing that civil program where you had to join the military generally if you're not in school. So what they did, and this is another option, I like their option. So if you don't want to join the military, then they put you on a civil program where you would be a first responder to like any disasters and stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
Rescue?
Yeah,
First
rescue,
responder?
and they taught him how to do rescue training and all that
We
stuff. So
could-
that was a great idea. I thought that was awesome.
Oh,
We
wow.
could make a list
Yeah, so-
that would be so good
Yeah.
that none of these kids coming out of high school, they would automatically know, and most of them would go probably where their friends want to go and do those things, hoping they could be together for the next 4 years. You know,
So we have ideas.
we have ideas.
We have ideas, and that's what I'm saying is that where's the emphasis, and where's the emphasis? Where should emphasis?
Well, right
be?
now I don't hear any politics talking about this stuff. None.
So and that's
Sure,
the
they all
thing.
want to harp on education, but what about education? Where are we at with education? Because I don't see none of the left doing it. I don't see none of the right doing it.
Talking about it. I know.
You
and
know
then
what?
trying
We've said
to-
before
trying to
that
put
our
money into
country
the
wants
system.
to keep us as dumb as we can be. And that may be a conspiracy theory to people.
No.
But
No.
I think that is what our country and our higher ups and our elites try to do. And you know what? And I was going to go back to the, working for 4 years thing. And anybody that makes over a couple $100,000, your kids are not exempt from this program. It's mandated. This is something that your kid will do, or there has to be some kind of, handicap or physical problem that they cannot go and do this. But nobody is exempt from it.
So and then as far as talking about schools, like that is huge, and I don't know if a lot of people are just unaware of it, but like my daughter going to A West, the caliber of that school versus going to a school over here in Aurora or Federal Heights, the high schools up there like Westminster, like there's a certain degree of kids that go there that have a mentality that is associated with a lower income level mentality, and there is one that comes along with that, but the schools, they teach differently in regards to that. They don't get that grade A best from a teacher at those lower income schools like they do at my daughter's school.
We saw that, didn't we? Did you see that yesterday? We were talking about that.
and
Schools that are
that's
budgeted
unfortunate.
and funded by private organizations. Yeah, absolutely. Versus state or something. Yeah.
So like you said earlier, keeping us dumb. People get pushed through. You could be a DF student, get pushed all the way through.
We have teachers who have no passion for teaching. We have no teachers who have passion for teaching. They never did. They took it because it was something. Or they did. They don't anymore. They just found themselves in the system. The system.
There's so much with the teachers there. It's just like becoming a cop. The eyes are on you all the time. You yell at a kid, you say some stuff out of line, that kid perceives it wrong, or gets you in a video that's half edited or whatever, and you're saying a sentence that's taken out of context, and your whole life is done. That's a lot of responsibility, and then top of that with these kids that come in there with I don't have to listen to you. I have this right.
Sure.
I have this. I have that. And so, who wants to get paid shit wages and then deal with that? So the people that do stay, I have to disagree with you a lot of times. A lot of times, those people stay because they have passion. Now, it might be distorted, and they've had to adjust that to the curriculum or whatever the kids have turned them into, But a lot of times the people do start off with passion, because teachers don't get paid shit, And if you're going in it, and if you're going in it to have your summers off,
And I'm telling you, man, people go into career fields for some of the craziest reasons, man.
Okay, real quick. So, there's an old adage that when people are getting good pay, they have a tendency to be, happier. Maybe it's not an adage, but anyways, it's true. When people are getting good pay, they generally have good positive attitudes, because why? They're not stressed out over their income. All right, that's one. Two, I have to admit, if you talk to any educator, it's quite a leap to become an educator. It's not like 1 year of school. I mean, what is it, 4 years?
Well, it's a bachelor's degree, then you have to follow it up with
exactly.
countless
So I mean,
certifications
it
and
takes a lot
requirements,
to even get to that level to be a teacher and an educator. So I mean, they definitely deserve better pay, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because one, they have themselves had to pay into it to be an educator, and maybe there are some out there that just have this pure passion. But I guarantee you this: that most of them, if they were making just really good salaries, yearly salaries, they would probably have a little bit more passion in their teaching. Maybe, I'm not saying this 100%, but I do know this is that happy people have a tendency. Happy people are thriving people. That's just a fact.
Okay,
people
so
that are
just
making a good income.
Money doesn't solve that. Just
Okay, well I know that, but okay, I tell you what, it would. I guarantee you would not be working for Excel right now if you were being paid $25,000 a year. I promise you that.
exactly.
That's exactly my point.
It's a double-edged sword.
Because it is. What I'm trying to get at is just people have a tendency to be more passionate
Productive and more
and productive
passionate.
when
That's
they're
right.
making a good living because that life is not stressful anymore. That's all I'm saying.
Which is why I
That's
was
why
all
I think
for,
our educators should be paid more.
They should, and that's why I was all for the minimum wage hike. I think that's a great thing. I don't, personally, do I think your wage should match your job? Sure. But if you want to get the best customer service you can, even from McDonald's, you want them to be happy at their work. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
from any place you go to get food or any kind of services, you want them to be happy.
Yeah, not
And I
spit in your
think that,
burger.
if they're making good money, that keeps them. Now, sometimes you do have those employees who will spit on your burger regardless, especially if you walk in with your MAGA hat on.
Especially around here.
But pay people what they can afford to live. Because, even Denver is a prime example. I mean, just inflation and the economy around here is just so unaffordable right now. Pay the people to what this economy is, match them. And then, or regulate things across the country where we all pay the same price for a house no matter what, unless.
But
and
so
then
you're
bracket
talking
those.
socialism, though, and then where's capitalism at that America's built on, So I work hard. I haven't been afforded any different opportunities than anybody else. The route that I've chosen, anybody can take, and it's unfortunate if you get a felony that hinders you in some regard,
Sure.
but anybody has the opportunity to have the same route. People limit themselves. So, I can jump on the capitalistic mentality when it comes to, I have anything at my fingertips. I have the internet that I can gain any knowledge that I need in the pursuit of whatever it is that I want. I limit myself. So, when you talk, start trying to make things across the board for everybody and hiking up pay
Keep it-
rates, standard, this thing. There's a certain thing that I've had a feeling with is if you don't aspire to make any more than $8 an hour and you continue at that, and that's the life that you get trapped into, and you buy the cell phone and you get in a car payment that you're in over your head, I think those are just life lessons that you have to evolve from that and know that you're worth more than $8 an hour and strive for better.
But people don't. People don't. What they do is say, pay me $15 an hour for doing the same job I was getting paid $8 an hour. People don't aspire. They just want more. And that's the problem with a lot of our society. They just want more.
So that's what
here's
you were
I'm
you were saying that you were in agreement with the hike
Listen,
in the minimum wage hike.
Pay people what is according to your area. But at the same time, give us, and I don't want to sound socialist because I do believe in a capitalist society. But with the problem with housing, give everybody an opportunity to own a house in this country. Give everybody an opportunity to own at least one car in this country.
Who's not given opportunity?
Everybody gets an opportunity.
And I'm saying it. I'm not trying to say it like we don't have those opportunities. I'm just saying make things affordable and obtainable if you work at McDonald's. That's all I'm saying. Do you need to aspire
Why?
to aspire to be more at McDonald's and to make more? Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
obviously, if you want to buy a house, because we live in a society where that is. So That's where you adjust your lifestyle for the way you want to live. If you want a $500,000 house, you make your lifestyle around, which would mean you working 1, 2, 3 jobs, your partner working 1, 2, 3 jobs. What does that look like? Those are the sacrifices that people make to make things happen.
Those are also the family sacrifices that people make, and then we end up with this society full of absentee parents. Now, if you want to go into now we can get diabolical. Yeah, we need to eliminate that.
Eliminate that by lowering the housing rates?
I think we have the ability to. I think every family should be able to own a home in this country, a nice home, not just a run-of-the-mill home. Now, do I think that you should aspire to be more in your life? Absolutely, I do. But I think we should all have the same opportunity to own a decent home and raise our family and not work 3 jobs to do it. Why is Denver so expensive right now? Because you guys are wreck weed. Who pushed that up? Who pushed it up?
But
Who pushed it up, though? That's all I want to know. Why did housing have to go 100% over?
because it can.
Because it can. Because that is the capitalist way. You're right. But
Because
why,
you know
though?
what? If you don't want to pay the $250,000, I'll pay the $250,000.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you don't
know
want
what?
to pay the
And there's-
$600,000?
you're
I'll
right.
pay the $600,000
And I see new construction going up all week here.
all the damn time. So it ain't. We ain't running out of people wanting to come here.
And I guess that's where I was getting at is who pushes up these prices and what gives them. Who's pushing up these prices and what gives them the authority to do it? What are you good? Is that your alarm? Is it gym time already?
Oh, that was Zelia calling me. Must be keeping her up. Oh,
She must have butt dialed you. Oh, maybe they can hear us.
Yeah, it is late.
What time is it?
almost 11.
Okay. Well, we can wrap this up. We're almost 2 hours into it. But, anyways, it just goes. I guess that's where some of my ideology of just trying to be humane comes into play, too. I lean a lot on the conservative, but at the same time, I think if we can offer benefits to people to make everybody happier, I would like to see those transpire. Not a socialist society. I don't think that's the way to go. But we have the ability to help out fellow Americans.
And we do, and I've seen things on the internet, and on Facebook for people's ideas actually coming to fruition. A couple examples.
Shark Tank too.
A couple examples of being the internet saying, why don't they put armed veterans at these schools, and pay them to.
Some schools have done it, that.
And that's that's what I'm saying is that people have taken that mentality and initiated it.
Armed teachers.
So
armed
that's
pilots.
that's one of those things that I've seen on a Facebook thing that's come to reality. Other things being, if I'm getting drug tested at my job, people applying for
Food
help
stamps should be drug tested.
And now there are communities where they're drug testing the
Yeah.
applicants.
The states are approving it.
So so it is. So things are coming from a thought
That's right.
process.
People are reading
getting
these-
generated
yeah.
through, and then things are happening because of it. So we do make a difference, and that's one of the things that I've learned. It's like when you have these ideas and you can get multitudes of people to really stand with you on that, there's a change that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And, fortunately for us, we're going to see a lot of change in our life, and then our kids are going to see probably the most change, I think.
Probably the better of the hopefully
I
hopefully the
hope-
better
I
of
hope
the
the
change.
better. There's
A little
this
bit
whole
more
talk
affordable
of,
health care, a little bit better wage earnings, just maybe better
Well,
transportation.
things won't get
systems.
cheaper in Denver, I can tell you that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that because Denver will be one of the cities. I can guarantee this. Just even watching my own job, is going to be one of the cities that's going to step into this future. It's going to be one of those
Well,
cities.
yeah, you're right. They're always in the forefront of change. Yeah.
My daughter, she may not be driving a bus when she's older, but she may have to run all the analysis and data on these autonomous buses and getting paid really good money to do. I'm just saying. I hope, and I'm gonna. In fact, there was a news article about kids nowadays are seeking more trade schools than they are colleges, which is probably what's going to be being pushed into our future is more trade schools because IT's getting big.
Information technology is going to be the biggest
It's
career
going to be,
field. Yeah.
especially specifically in the cities. I'm just saying, there's definitely going to start there in the cities, and this city's going to be one of them. That's why I like sticking
I do
around.
agree as well. Listening to the Joe Rogan's podcast and things, and looking at the wave of the future, I do see. I've always I used to buy into the whole end of the world.
Apocalyptic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really coming to pass. But I really do feel that we're gonna have a automated age that's gonna overcome us. We're gonna get
Oh,
a
it's
chance to
happening.
live that before any crazy shit
Sure.
really goes down.
I
You
think
know,
that will be the explosion of technology that's, forecasted that, and then shit'll hit the fan.
Yeah, but
I
see,
can see
that's the
that.
problem though. Everybody, so maybe there will be a time where civil and national and international, like World War III, if you want to call it. Is that what you guys are saying? Like, you expect that,
Just
like
something
AI,
that'll
like
just
the
be-
rise of AI,
yeah.
singularity,
No,
and
well-
stuff like that.
Well, maybe like
That's
way
already
in
on the
future.
rise. That's coming.
It won't-
Well, yeah. Well, singularity is still way down the road, but AI is definitely
Here,
already
yeah.
in the path. Yeah, it's already on the path. Elon Musk definitely touches up on like the potential of AI and its goods and bads and stuff. But here's the thing, nothing's written. You know what I mean? We definitely grew up in that society of everything's going to be apocalyptic doom. I know because I went, everything. They all trust me. Go ask mom and everybody, even my ex-wife. They're all waiting for the apocalypse. It's kind of sad actually that
Well, half the
they
world-
look at
yeah.
that and they don't look at actually wanting to implement new ideas
Yeah.
that make society better. They're just going to wait until it dies off and then.
Well, when you have
You know.
half the world willing an apocalyptic,
Yeah,
Armageddon
agenda.
style,
Yeah,
yeah.
the narrative is to get like, yeah, I know what you're saying, and that's unfortunate. So, hopefully, and I don't think everybody thinks like that. I'm just saying it just seems like that's the narrative that most people are expecting is that the world's just going to fall apart. Now, it's not to say that there isn't going to be a time. I mean, there always could be a time when things are just going to be that bad, but. I'm optimistic, and I kind of look to see. I think our future is going to be a lot brighter if we keep I would say pursuing optimistic things like maybe having some type of affordable health care as opposed to just free health care for everybody.
the
Because
biggest
maybe it
thing
doesn't
is
work.
just having people talk.
Yeah, and rationalize and be rational.
So people
about
getting
things.
tired of the whole choosing sides
Yeah,
thing and
exactly.
coming together and vocalizing together what people want. Because
Yeah,
I think in the hearts of everybody wants it to be a humane answer where it's not where people are getting something for free. And you're not hurting people to make things happen, and you're
That's
not
true.
causing division, and you're not causing hate or causing profiles that to where it separates people. That's the.
so
I'm hoping that we get to that point, versus a division, and that the media does tend to do that to us, separate us, make us reclusive. We stay apart from one another, and I've lost a lot of Facebook friends just because of opinions that people throw out there.
yeah.
And the thing about that is that's futile. It's come and goes. So you can have an understanding or a passion about something one day, or a feeling towards somebody about something one day, and then they do something, and it just you're like, wow, I just totally was.
not expecting
expecting
that. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this guy to be such a douchebag.
or whatever the case, people want to stand tall for something without all the information, all the facts.
It's all right. There's always a good approach to this, and that's just it. You gotta there's this lady at work. I told her
Juanita?
no. I won't say her name,
Loretta?
but she's very communist. She is like a Bernie Sanders 100%. But you know what? I told her one day. I said, you know what, so and so. I said, you're such a genuine person. I said, I really like you. I just don't give a shit about your politics, and I just want you to know that. But I really do like you.
Yeah.
I think you're a really nice person, but as far as your politics, I don't give a shit. So
I feel that
just
way.
know that way. Just know
Yeah.
that. And that's how I feel about a lot of people.
Yeah,
I
I feel
really
that
do.
way
It's like I
about
don't give a shit
religious
about your
people come
politics.
knock on
Yeah,
my
even
door. It's
religious
like,
people, even
Look,
Christians
I
to a
got a
certain degree. I
relationship
feel
with
that.
God. I appreciate you, but I don't like your religion. So,
Take a walk. Take a walk, man. Go walk with Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm just saying it's like, hey, I have a good standing faith, and I mean, I know you want to push your like the mom's neighbor one day came up to me and tried preaching to me.
Witness?
I said, well, yeah, he wanted to witness to me. He didn't realize I was a spiritual person. But it's some people just, I would say, are, I don't know, Mike, what do you call that? Like, people that are just, they don't stop
pushing
they don't stop
beliefs.
to
No.
just know their surroundings, like who they're talking to, or they just you're right. They're ready to say something, push it, jump on it, pounce, and then leave. You know what I mean?
So with that being said, I got a perfect example for that. I was over at my house over in Arvada, and I was outside and I was watering my lawn, and this older woman came up and she had a kid with her. They were walking down the sidewalk, and I said, "Hi, how's it going?" And started talking, being nice, and then she slips in the whole Jesus thing, and then starts telling me her story, and I stopped her in the middle of it, and I was like, "You really think that it's okay to have a segue in our conversation for you to throw your religion at me and then tell me the stories and how good it is?" I said, without even talking to me about who I am as a person and my beliefs. So that to me is you just you feeling good about you, feeling like you need to do a good deed and get out there and tell your thing. It's like, why? Who are you to get to do that to me? Why do I have to sit here and listen to your take on that? Good for you. Yeah, I'm not the platform with it, but why couldn't we just be human and I'm nice to you, you're nice to me, and you go on your way,
Because she used it as...
What you're saying earlier, though.
What's that?
That you're supposed to be kind of open-minded. That person at that time might think that truly is what they should be doing at that moment, and maybe she really has a heart for you or whoever it might be.
Passion. It's
So,
that person's passion, but that's her story. That's that woman's story that she tells to anybody and whoever is willing to hear. That's her story,
I'm just saying you always have to be open-minded to maybe what their situation in their life is.
Okay,
So in
and
other
I
words-
could, and I heard
She should
that.
have been open-minded to yours, but she might not have been. But she might not have meant it bad at all. Like, she meant it in a good way.
Did she hand you a
She thought
track?
That was her life.
She hands you a
That
track.
was her life calling. She thought she was supposed to.
Absolutely,
and a lot
but
of people-
but people have passions and try to push
And
their
listen,
agenda or their
And
their
I'm
thing
not
onto
going to
other
lie.
people.
I've sat there and I've walked into Walmart when we were at our highest peak of what I would call spirituality and religion. And we were just out there trying to witness and do things. And I approached a young couple. I was driving my Volkswagen van at the time. And they approached me and said, "Hey, we like your van. That's nice." And I turned that conversation in, "Do you know Jesus?" And immediately they stopped me and said, "Oh, we're atheists." And I didn't even bug them no more from that. And I didn't start it off with that. I started out, "Hey, do you guys have a home church around here?" And then they went into that. But I did intentionally think that I needed to
Convert
without
them.
feeling it.
Yeah, convert them.
I didn't convert them. Yeah. And I didn't feel it.
I know. I used
didn't-
to do these things. I was really good at it. I mean, I
didn't-
could almost
yeah.
sell ketchup
Yeah,
to like
I know, you lived your life
a
there.
Mormon.
Yeah.
You did
And you know
I
what? From
used to
that
do it
day
all the
on,
time.
I never did it again. And a lot of people think, "Oh, well, you should take rejection and just roll with the next one and do this and that." You know what? No, because I feel stupid doing this because it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, I know a lot of people have a disbelief on what we are here on earth to do. In fact, me and my wife Deborah kind of hinted on that earlier. I don't feel like I'm here to try to convert anybody to
It's
anything.
not about converting. It's about maybe
Doing the
just
Lord's work.
Sharing the word, because there are some people that don't know, and they feel that they're trying to help them maybe possibly. 'Cause
And
there's
with that being
possibility
said,
that
we
that
should
might
move
be
the hell
People
out
don't
of-
know what.
that don't know the Lord.
Yeah,
What,
and
what,
with
what do
that-
they not know about the Lord?
Okay, let's
Some
look.
people
We're not
might
going to
not
get.
know
Look,
about
that's
the
another whole podcast. And we'll mic Deb up, and we'll do that podcast. And when you guys come out in July, no, I'm just saying. But
I'm
you
just
bring a
saying
good perspective on it because that's your
I'm trying
belief.
to be open-minded too.
Yeah.
That people do mean well when they're doing it. Some no, because we've went to a church where they do shove it
And
down
when I
your
did it, I felt
throat.
it
I'm just
was
saying.
a duty that I had to do for my church.
Well,
I need to convert you, or else I'm not going to be in good graces with the pastor. And a lot of people live their life like that
well,
who are in
that's
churches.
Like, comes to where I was at the church, and she's like, "Will you please give your testimony?" I don't feel like giving a testimony.
Oh my gosh, you heathen!
Yeah, I mean, I felt that. I feel that if you,
You're gonna
if you
get
feel it,
scratched.
You know what?
you feel
Everybody
it,
has a
yourself to do it,
testimony.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we can
Yeah.
definitely go round and
Oh
round
yeah.
with politics.
You
on
know,
that
just
one.
tell them you're a Satanist, and they usually walk away.
Religion,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably what that couple did. They didn't want to hear my shit, and they said, "Oh,
Yeah,
we're
they probably
atheists."
did. Yeah, we're
That's how
atheists.
We like your van.
It's funny because
We
when they
like your
yeah.
van. now we don't like you
Yeah.
or your damn band. Get out of here.
It even has nothing to do with just being spiritual. See, you can love
And
your
they could have walked away,
your
Mike,
religion
feeling the way
all
you
day
did.
long.
Who the hell is that guy? He doesn't even know us.
Yeah,
Who the hell is
yeah.
that guy to think that we don't have a relationship with God?
Or even, well, okay, let's not even say, just to say they're agnostic.
Yeah.
They don't even care what they believe or not. Who's to say that they just didn't do something very charitable that day,
Yeah,
and they're just
absolutely.
and they're living off of that?
They could have just adopted some kids
yeah,
from a
exactly.
foster home
But
for a
but you know
while.
what though?
Just love one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thing that's what I've learned. That's why I've piped down a lot and just started
Piped it
studying.
down.
Piped it down a lot and just really regained some of that control back and started finding, because it's like, your spirituality, it's more personal. To be honest, it's more
Yeah.
personal. It's fun to share it with people if they're willing to engage in it. But you're right. That's a good example of trying to push your narrative on somebody else and them
Without
don't really,
feeling that it's
instead of just
God-given
saying
to me
hello,
to
have
go
a good
do it,
day.
yeah.
Hey, I know you like the van. Instead, you were like, hey, so
Yeah. So
so
I could take you
You
for
wanna
a
try
ride,
it?
but
I
first
know.
you got to go get baptized.
hey man, why are we going by this water here? Oh yeah, we're gonna get
We're
baptized.
going to baptize you heathens in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's
Anyways.
funny that we can make all fun of that growing up the way we did. We grew up very religious. We grew up, I say very religious.
And that's
It
fine.
was
I
on
mean,
and
that's
off, but
I never. Let me tell you, some of the best memories I have is sitting in that little white church with grandma, and going to eat at the country kitchen cupboard afterwards.
know what?
But you know what? It doesn't mean that people can't have spirituality. But it's all I'm trying to say is that. You're right about that. There's a time and place. If you want to engage and have dialogue with somebody over religious aspects, make sure they want to engage and have a dialogue. If not, let them be, because they don't probably care to listen to
Hey,
it.
and I'll tell you, one of my greatest achievements was learning all the books of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And that
Yeah.
was something I was proud of at one time in my life for no other reason than I just remembered a lot of books of the Bible,
Yeah.
And a lot of Sunday school classes and a lot of church trips we went on. And we had
Yeah,
good times.
and they
Uncle
did. They're
Tom,
very
being
positive.
a preacher
Yeah.
of ours, our own
Yeah.
uncle.
Everybody has their own journey, and you just don't know where their journey is and where your journey.
Mike, final thoughts. Speak up. No, get into that mic. Get into that mic.
I was just trying to
trick
think about, just on my journey of all the different things that I've gone through in my relationship with God, and how others perceive and interact with one another, and and it's like having a thought process on where I do stand, and and I can see, I can see the patterns of people getting close, and there's, so then I look at it like this. Religion. I believe religion does have a place. And I believe that God's word, and let's just say God's word is not just found in a book that I'm thinking. It comes from people's actions. A lot of the things that I've learned in life either have been the actions of my own or the actions of others have caused me certain pains or discomforts or growths. So the actions, but words definitely change our lives, right? So then if it's an infallible word of God, whether it be action or word, has settled on my heart. And that at the end of the day is what settles here is God's word, I think. That's what I live on. And anytime, so all this information has been poured through myself, and then whatever those gold nuggets stay, but sometimes that wrong shit gets in here as well, and through experience, that's been chipped away, through life experiences, and I think that's what the growth thing is. So that I can empathize and I can have compassion for people, no matter where they come from, where they stand. I can understand.
I'm just saying, that's fine. That's fine. Just finish, Mike. I didn't want to disrupt Mike. Go ahead.
No, it's so examples. That's all I was trying to say is that, if God's within you, people will know. And there have been things that I've learned that I've said to people, things that have come out of me that have just come from life lessons, that I've been able to convey. And we Freestones, we tend to have people that come to us and talk to us because they feel a comfortability level. Because, like Dad, we just, there are areas where we just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And that comes out, and people understand that. Like I've done a pretty good job about not letting there be edges for anybody to pick on me, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. There's just isn't anything that you can get on me to make me feel a certain way, because I've already felt those emotions. So hardening myself.
Absolutely. Scott, final thoughts.
I don't really have much to say other than the fact that we covered a lot, and it's been good talk. It's unfortunate we don't get to sit down with Tom and do this as well, or with
we will. We
with
will.
Dad
Even
or
if we have to go to
Casey
San
or
Diego.
just all of our, and Debbie included, with with like some of the ideas, and a lot of people. I think we should sit down and do this and just get out and have like an open forum discussion about like just the way people feel without everybody getting so upset about it.
Yeah.
And it would be probably very
And
good.
that's what I love about our family is we've always been thicker than blood as far as just us, and that's why I chose to bring my family out here for spring break versus going someplace else. We always want to go and do things that are different and experience different things. But, man, I always love being around you guys. You guys, we fill each other up with encouragement, drive. We're motivated. We bust our asses. We raise our kids. We live, a portion of the American dream. We always strive to do more. And it doesn't even matter when we want to do less, because we, I think, have all earned a right to do whatever we do in life. But you guys have definitely made me think that coming here this week was just a grand thing. And a lot of siblings don't get to say that in passing. In fact, sometimes trips are cut short because they just can't get along with each other,
I appreciate that shit. That's some cool stuff. A lot of times, we get caught up in our day-to-day lives,
Absolutely.
and it's hard to step out of that. You get in a routine of things about how things are supposed to be, and you get used to that. And when people impinge or infringe on that, it just makes for adjustments.
Yeah, and that's what I think one thing we've done over our lives too, have adapted and overcome. And I know, we've all just been what brothers do, in life. We've all fought verbally and physically, and it's never lasted any longer than what I would say a second. A second can be a few hours, a second can be a day, a second can be a whole month. But we all come back to the same thing, that we are thicker than blood when it comes to us. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we stair-stepped in age, and that we had a great foundation, and that we moved all over the damn world growing up. And, and I think we have this desire to be around each other a few times a year. And that's definitely what I was feeling when I realized that our trip to someplace else just wouldn't have matched coming to Denver. I have a desire to be around you guys, and I love it, man. And I'm glad you guys were able to sit down and do this with me right here out of Mike's basement in Westminster, damn Colorado. We went up and had a great time today in Golden. I'm kind of recapping on some things. Scott, man, you're right. I wish Tom was here where he could sit in and chime in. If you guys want to hear all four of us and my dad talk about our military time, just go check out Salute to Service. But you guys can definitely look forward to hearing us all down the road. I know this is a long-ass podcast. Play it, pause it as many times as you need to get through it, but definitely listen to it. We've hit a lot of topics tonight. You guys are going to get a chance to realize or see who we are personally, and maybe you like us, maybe you don't. I don't know. We're just going to roll through life anyways, man, period. But with that being said, you guys have a good rest of your spring break. Those of you who are on it, those of you who are coming on it, be safe. We love you all. Have a good one.
Later.
Later.
Oh, that's cool.
Yay!
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.